Chapter 1237. Chu Yang was confused for a moment. What's going on? Just as he was confused, the seven-colored fog in the passageway became thicker and thicker. Finally, he couldn't see his fingers clearly. He tried to take a breath, and instantly, he felt comfortable all over. The heavenly core of wind and thunder shuttled back and forth in his body and finally separated into two sides. The wind jade occupied the left side of Chu Yang's body, while the thunder jade occupied the right side of Chu Yang's body. Both sides were ready for battle. The moment the two pieces of jade stopped moving, the endless colorful fog in the passageway suddenly rushed into Chu Yang's body with a whoosh. Wave after wave, like a vast and mighty river, surging over. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. This seven-colored fog could actually strengthen one's vital energy, and the effect was very obvious. As he walked slowly, he absorbed the seven-colored fog. Wherever he passed, there was nothing but emptiness. The seven-colored mist vanished into nothingness. Only the front of him was still densely packed. Chu Yang was just curious. Why wasn't there such a magical thing when he passed by last time? This is the real benefit of the Tribulation Sword Master. The Sword Spirit's voice sounded as if he had just woken up from a dream. Do you think that you got the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword just to let you take a 3-month break to see your lover and brothers? You're awake. Chu Yang was delighted. I'm already back. Why wouldn't I be awake? The Sword Spirit also smiled. At this moment, Chu Yang faintly heard the huge sound of thunder and lightning from above. He couldn't help but ask, a vision of heaven and earth? The Sword Spirit said, that's right. Every fragment of the Tribulation Sword will be accompanied by a different vision of heaven and earth. The vision of heaven and earth will bring some magical things to benefit the Tribulation Sword Master. And this time, the power of wind and thunder is used to bring down the seven-colored rainbow from outside the clouds to increase the Tribulation Sword Master's foundation and power. I see. Chu Yang pondered for a while. Since there's such a big movement, there must be a lot of people outside. It seems that I can't go out the same way. You have to go out. There's only one way, the Sword Spirit said. I see. Chu Yang muttered to himself for a while. Then, he opened his mind and said, I'll get my benefits first. As for how I'm going to get out, what's the point of thinking about that if I don't go out now? The Sword Spirit was stunned. He saw Minister Chu operate the heaven-splitting divine power with all his might. Then, the seven-colored fog started to gather around Chu Yang with a whooshing sound. It rushed into Chu Yang's meridians. The circulation of Chu Yang's martial technique became faster and faster. He even had time to talk to the Sword Spirit. Sword Spirit. This kung fu is very strange. When I first started practicing it, the speed is very slow, and it takes at least 2 incense sticks to burn to complete one cycle. But now, I can complete 2 cycles in one breath. The Sword Spirit was silent for a long time. Then, he said, I don't understand this martial art, but, if you can circulate 10,000 times in a breath, it should be enough. Go to hell. Chu Yang was exasperated. 10,000 cycles in one breath? My body had long since exploded. What kind of meridians can withstand such speed? As far as I know, my master can circulate 1,000 cycles of the divine technique in a single breath. In an instant, a full-force palm strike is enough to destroy the entire heaven layer world, the Sword Spirit said slowly. Chu Yang was silent. After a long time, he said in a low voice, so, there really is no end. 1,000 cycles in a single breath. Chu Yang was greatly provoked by this sentence. He circulated his martial technique with all his might. Along with the whooshing sound, the seven-colored fog gathered in Chu Yang's body like rivers converging into the sea. When Chu Yang had walked a few hundred steps, he actually felt that the circulation speed of his martial technique seemed to be slightly faster. He couldn't help but feel happy. This happiness didn't matter. The circulation of his vital energy returned to its original state. Still not making me happy. Chu Yang was a little startled. All right, I won't be happy with external gains, and I won't be sad with personal gains. I will face a pie falling from the sky with a normal heart. After an unknown amount of time, Chuyang gradually felt that the 7-colored fog in the passageway was gradually decreasing. Finally, it became thinner. He tried to look at his dantian. He couldn't help but cry out in surprise, "Sword Spirit, look! The purple energy in my dantian has increased by a little." "Really?" The Sword Spirit was shocked. He hurriedly looked and couldn't help but twitch his mouth. "This is considered an additional one. At best, I can only say that. It's completely replenished by the first one." Chuyang said angrily, "Look carefully. Next to the first one, there's another thin one. How can that be considered one?" The Sword Spirit said disdainfully, "For example, next to the bristles on a pig's neck, there's an additional sheep's fluff." Chuyang was so shocked that he was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. He grimaced. "Damn you, you really know how to make an analogy. If it's fluff then it's fluff. What sheep's fluff?" He took a few more steps forward. Suddenly, he felt the vital energy in his dantian shake violently. It was noisy, turbulent, and surging endlessly. Chuyang seemed to feel that his dantian had swelled up, almost to the point of bursting. But when he looked at it, there was nothing unusual on the outside. At the same time, a mysterious feeling suddenly surged in his heart. Chuyang was shocked. "Sword Spirit, I'm about to break through." "Breaking through, this is normal." The Sword Spirit laughed. "You were already on the verge of breaking through. After absorbing the power of the rainbow, it would be strange if you didn't break through." As he spoke, Chuyang felt more and more uncomfortable. Finally, he stopped walking forward and sat down cross-legged on the ground. He took a deep breath and began to guide his vital energy back. He tried his best to suppress the restlessness in his heart. At the steadiest speed, he guided the vital energy out of his dantian into his meridians and began to break through the bottleneck of first-grade supreme martial artists. This was a brand new meridian route. Before his strength reached that level, Chuyang didn't even know that there was such a meridian route in the human body, but just now, when the conditions were right, it suddenly appeared on its own. The surging vital energy pierced in like a needle. Everywhere it passed, there was a tearing pain. Chuyang endured it calmly. This feeling was like the tearing pain during childbirth. It was extremely painful, but it was also filled with the joy of a new life. Chuyang had an inexplicable feeling the supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. If he told others about this feeling, he would definitely be attacked by all the martial artists in the world. What the hell? The supreme martial artist level was just the beginning. Then how many people in this world had started before? The vital energy penetrated in like a hot knife through butter and gradually filled up. It slowly pushed forward to a solid barrier and then stopped here. The vital energy behind was still rushing in like a tide. Chuyang took a breath and withdrew all his vital energy back to his dantian. Then, he circulated his energy again and gathered all his strength to charge forward fiercely. The tsunami-like power charged forward again after retreating, as if it was a decisive battle. He charged forward fiercely. Not good. The Sword Spirit was about to stop him. But it was too late. Minister Chu's cross-legged body jumped up like a toad. In mid-air, blood spurted out of his 7 orifices. Then, he fell down and lay flat on the ground, his legs twitching, trying to break through to the supreme martial artist level. How can you charge forward so violently without going through a period of nourishment? How can you be like this? The Sword Spirit complained. Chuyang said weakly, "Wasn't it always like this in the past?" The Sword Spirit rolled his eyes and hurried to repair his meridians. After a long while, only then did Chuyang start to try for the second time, the third time, the fourth time. After a long time, he still couldn't move it at all. Chuyang was extremely depressed. He thought about it carefully. When he tried to attack again, he subconsciously used his inner vision. To his surprise, he discovered that after all his vital energy had been depleted, those 2 wisps of purple vital energy were still motionless in his dantian. Chuyang let out a sound of surprise. Then, he circulated the heavenly lifting divine technique and carefully started to move these 2 primordial real silk. However, after a long time, he could only move the one that was already in good condition. The other one was still motionless. Chuyang had no other choice but to drive it into his meridians in a wobbly manner. Then, he proceeded towards the barrier. Looking at how weak this primordial real silk was, Chu Yang also seriously lost his confidence. After this primordial real silk entered the newly opened route that day, it actually felt like it was walking with its head held high as it traveled through the vast and mighty vital energy. Then, it reached the first-grade supreme martial artist barrier and charged over just like that. Chu Yang sighed. Looks like it's hopeless. But, just as he said it was hopeless, the next moment, a miracle appeared. That incomparably sturdy supreme martial artist barrier. That barrier that Chu Yang used all his strength to attack dozens of times but still didn't move. Actually, under the charge of this primordial real silk, it charged straight in. Chu Yang was dumbfounded. Without waiting for him to circulate his energy, the primordial qi that had been accumulating here and had no way of entering automatically surged over and squeezed into this thin gap. Then, with a boom, the barrier opened and Chu Yang's vital energy rushed in. In an instant, this meridian was connected in all directions. At once, Chu Yang felt as if his whole body was floating. At the same time, a confused aura of the great Tao suddenly appeared in his heart. All of a sudden, Chu Yang became as clear-headed as ice and snow. After the primordial real silk succeeded, it automatically wanted to return to his dantian. But Chu Yang already knew how powerful the primordial real silk was. How could he let it run back to rest? He forced it to move continuously in his meridians with a torrential current. The sword spirit constantly filled Chu Yang's meridians with the power of elixirs and turned it into the energy of heaven and earth. The team continued to expand. After a long while, Chu Yang sighed and stood up. Sword supremacy, first grade, elementary. He truly realized the terror of a supreme martial artist. With such a vast amount of vital energy, after breaking through to first-grade supreme martial artist, it only barely stabilized at the elementary level. It wasn't even at the level of a supreme martial artist. You should be content. The sword spirit rolled his eyes. Who doesn't spend many years trying to break through to this level? Some even spend thousands of years. You broke through in just 2 hours. And you're still complaining. Chapter 1238. After Chu Yang broke through, the heavenly heart of wind and thunder returned to the tribulation space. The sword spirit couldn't be bothered to argue with Chu Yang now. He was busy planting herbs. The heavenly treasures that Chu Yang collected in the upper 3 heavens were still piled up inside. The sword spirit planted them one by one in the field. The sword spirit was very reluctant to do this. The quality of the heavenly treasures plundered from the upper 3 heavens was much worse than the ones in the upper 3 heavens. The sword spirit felt a little wronged. However, heavenly treasures were heavenly treasures after all. Although the quality of these herbs wasn't as good, they were still very useful for refining elixirs in the future. The tribulation space was filled with purple gas. The spiritual spring water had already turned into a faint milky white color. If it can turn from milky white to its original clear color, it will be the spring of life, the sword spirit said lightly. How long will that take? Chu Yang asked. I don't know. The sword spirit shook his head. I only know that the materials are not complete. Right now, the most important material was the tree of life. As for the others, even though the conditions are still lacking, they are not far off. Some of the materials are even far superior. Chu Yang's eyes flashed. He murmured, Tree of Life. What does it look like? The sword spirit said, as far as I know, Dukyu will definitely have several species of fairies. This is the true inheritance of the fairy race. If Dukyu doesn't have it, that would be the strangest thing. I see. Chu Yang broke the silence. It seems that the passage to the heavens needs to be opened earlier. He couldn't help but feel a little regretful. When he returned from the upper 3 heavens, Dukyu had asked about the spring of life. He only said that he would tell Dukyu the secret when the passage opened and he could come up. However, he didn't expect that this important condition was missing. Chu Yang sighed. However, there was nothing he could do. The sword spirit was asleep at that time. After staying in the passage for so long, it was time for him to go out. Chu Yang calmed down and guessed what he might face after he went out. At this moment, it was already chaos outside. The tribulation phenomenon this time had lasted for a long time. It was the longest in history. Everyone was puzzled. However, they only knew that the phenomenon this time was in the upper three heavens. They couldn't sense the specific location at all. Everyone was in a state of chaos, searching for him. But it was all for naught. Due to the avalanche and the collapse of the wind-thunder platform some time ago, many people had come to the northwest region during this period of time. Li Donghai and the others were lying in ambush at the bottom of the cliff. These short 2 to 4 hours were indescribably painful. The sun came out. And it was very vicious. The snow on the cliff began to melt. After it melted, water flowed down. It was common knowledge. Naturally, the more secretive the ambush point was, the better. And to be secretive, they needed something to hide behind. But in this world of ice and snow, there was no shelter. Other than ice and snow, what else could there be? Therefore, everyone was invisible in the ice and snow. But now that the ice had melted, Li Donghai and the others were practically pouring ice water on their heads. This feeling, moreover, as the snow melted faster and faster, it gradually formed small waterfalls. The waterfalls were falling down, and they were gradually increasing in size. The space wasn't big to begin with, so there was nowhere to hide. Li Donghai looked up at the sky and sighed. He was really unlucky. Just as he was feeling stifled, a gust of wind suddenly blew past. Someone pointed to the sky and exclaimed, "The dark clouds are here again." Indeed, in just a short while, the originally clear blue sky was covered by dark clouds. Then, it became thicker and thicker, and it started to rain. Oh my God! Everyone sighed. Why don't we take shelter from the rain first? In the pouring rain, in the world of ice and snow. This feeling was really hard to swallow. Li Donghai nodded without hesitation. Anyway, that person had already been waiting for 3 months and didn't show up. He couldn't possibly come out just when they were taking shelter from the rain, right? Therefore, Li Donghai, Li Nanshan and the others personally made a hole in the cliff. Everyone hurriedly squeezed in. In an instant, heavy rain and waterfalls poured down. And the entrance of the cave was made into a water curtain cave. Splash, splash, everything in the world was just so strange. Just after the Li clan people entered the cave, a cave entrance suddenly appeared at the place they were originally monitoring. Then, a black shadow jumped out. The moment it jumped out, it shuddered in the pouring rain. This is really strange. In such a world of ice and snow, there's actually a rainstorm. This was indeed strange. And Chu Yang didn't know that just a moment ago, this place was still sunny. He didn't even see the strange phenomenon of heaven and earth. And after the heat came frost, water vapor rose and the heat had yet to dissipate. Of course, there would be a rainstorm. After a period of time, this rainstorm would then turn into hail. After the hail, the weather would return to the one that hadn't changed for the past 100,000 years, heavy snow. Cough cough, this should be the principle, right? I didn't make a fool of myself, right? After Chu Yang jumped out, the cave entrance immediately disappeared. In the pouring rain, although Chu Yang had the cultivation of a supreme martial artist now, he wasn't willing to be drenched in the rain like a silly bird. So, he jumped up and silently made a hole in the cliff. Then, he went in himself. The water curtain immediately came down and concealed the cave entrance. Chu Yang didn't realize that on the cliff opposite the cave entrance he made, there was also a big hole. Of course, the people opposite didn't notice it either. The rainstorm lasted for 2 hours. Then, it turned into dense hail, smashing down. Every one of them was the size of an egg, directly smashing holes in the ground. The hail lasted for the time it took to burn a stick of incense. Then, it started to snow heavily. This heavy snow was unprecedentedly heavy. It was all that kind of goosefeather snow, thick and heavy. Layer after layer, it actually completely covered all the uneven ground in a very short period of time. The puddles on the ground didn't even start to freeze before they were sealed by the heavy snow. As far as the eye could see, heaven and earth were all silvery white and misty. At the cave entrance, Chu Yang was dumbfounded. He really didn't expect to see such a miraculous scene of heaven and earth. Finally, when the ground was completely covered, the people in the caves on both sides started to move. On one side, a few people started to show their heads. Then, they jumped out in the heavy snow. Their eyes naturally looked forward. Immediately, a few people exclaimed, on the cliff directly opposite, there was actually a similar cave. Inside, there was actually a black head sticking out. This person's face was covered, and his appearance couldn't be seen clearly. Only a pair of eyes were bright like a thief's. Another exclamation also came from the opposite side. Chu Yang also didn't expect that opposite him. There were actually so many people hidden. What's going on? What's going on? Li Donghai rushed out. The subordinate pointed with a trembling hand. Look. Look, look, look. Li Donghai looked up. Instantly, his nose became crooked from anger. There was actually another person opposite. And he didn't know when this person came, but he definitely came before them. If after. It was absolutely impossible that they didn't notice. In that case, their original discussion had all fallen into this person's ears. Their original sorry state had also been seen by him. Li Donghai was really furious at this moment. At the same time, the few supreme martial artists kept blaming themselves. We can be considered as experienced people in the martial world. Why didn't we notice that there was such a big cave here earlier? Chu Yang was also surging with murderous intent. These people definitely came before me. In that case, didn't they already see me coming out from there? That was too dangerous. That bastard. Quickly get out and accept your death. Li Nanshan flew into a rage, pointing at Chu Yang and stomping his feet as he cursed. Wait, don't scold first. Could it be that person who cut down the heavenly thunder platform? Li Donghai hurriedly stopped him. He also just thought of this now. Definitely not. This bastard's cultivation is at most first or second grade supreme martial artist. Li Nanshan looked at his boss with some confusion. Why was his boss confused? Chu Yang had already jumped down. Black clothes, black robes, and a black mask. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes, rising endlessly. He was already very uncomfortable, and now, his murderous intent was completely aroused by this insult. Without asking for the truth, he just came up and wanted to kill. In that case, under my sword, I don't care about killing a few more people. After coming down, without another word, he raised his sword. Bright as flowing light, with a bang, tens of thousands of sword rays exploded in the heavy snow. Who are you? Li Nanshan was furious. When people of the martial world meet, you actually start fighting without even passing through the door. Do you even know the rules of the martial world? At the same time, he hurriedly raised his sword to parry. Chu Yang's sword was like the wind, attacking with every move. You scolded me first. Now you talk to me about the rules of the martial world. His body floated in the heavy snow, and streaks of sword light splashed out just like that. Li Donghai watched from the side, but he was relieved. Although this black-clothed masked man's sword moves were sharp, his cultivation was indeed not very high. He only had the cultivation of a first-grade supreme martial artist. His people could totally defeat him. Although Li Nanshan was having a hard time resisting now, his life was not in danger. With a wave of his hand, 30 to 40 people formed a large circle, watching the scene. Li Nanshan roared continuously. His opponent had taken the initiative, and he could not equalize the situation in a short time. He was extremely angry, shouting and attacking continuously. Chu Yang saw that everyone had arrived. It seemed that there was no one else around. Suddenly, he let out a long and loud shout. His long sword flashed high up in the sky. Then, he jumped up. His long sword emitted a cold light in midair. Suddenly, it issued a clang sound. When this sword cry came out, it was crisp and clear, and contained the domineering might of a sovereign descending to the world. The snowflakes in the air were completely shattered by this sword cry. Below, everyone's swords let out a clear sword cry at the same time. With a whoosh, half a foot out of the sheath, cold in the wind and snow. Li Nanshan's sword was originally piercing straight, but at this moment, for some reason, it suddenly changed direction. With a clang, The sword tip actually turned upward. Chu Yang swept down. Li Donghai was shocked, and his soul almost left his body. How is this an ordinary supreme martial artist? This is a sword supremacy. Chapter 1239. Stop. Li Donghai roared as he rushed forward. Nanshan, retreat. There was only one thing he was curious about. A sword supremacy was completely different from an ordinary supreme martial artist. As far as Li Donghai knew, a sword supremacy had to be at least a grade to be able to restrain his sword energy and disguise his aura as an ordinary supreme martial artist. But this person was clearly a first-grade supreme martial artist. Could it be a disguise? Actually, this was a supreme sword supremacy expert. Thinking of this, Li Donghai's heart turned cold. Without waiting for him to say anything, Li Nanshan had already sensed the aura of death and retreated in horror. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the person who was fighting calmly with him just now was actually a sword supremacy. At this moment, Li Nanshan wanted to cry. You should have said so earlier. If you had said so earlier, how would I dare to face a sword supremacy alone? Although it's only a first-grade supreme martial artist. I'm also only a first-grade supreme martial artist, okay? But a first-grade supreme martial artist is different from me. It's a super existence that can rival a fourth-grade supreme martial artist like Li Donghai. Damn, aren't you cheating me? Even if you want to cheat me, you shouldn't cheat me like this. Li Donghai rushed forward while Li Nanshan retreated quickly. But Chu Yang's killing intent was already aroused. How could he allow him to escape from his sword? Li Nanshan's sword flashed, and Gongji Jin charged forward. Li Nanshan desperately pressed down with his sword, and the two swords clashed. Just as he relaxed, he heard a cracking sound, and felt a chill in his chest. There was actually a large hole. It pierced through from the front to the back. Thankfully, he dodged quickly and didn't hurt his heart. But this injury wasn't light. If he wanted to live, it would take a lot of effort. But he didn't stop. He retreated more than 100 feet before he stopped. Looking down, he let out a scream. Several people from the Li clan had already rushed forward to bandage his wound. But the injury was serious. When the medicine was applied, it was washed away by the blood. For a moment, there was nothing they could do. Looking at Li Nanshan's miserable state, Li Donghai was so angry that his body trembled. He looked at Chu Yang with eyes as sharp as a knife, shooting out hatred. Sir, you're ruthless. Chu Yang sneered in a hoarse voice. I just don't know. Did all of you surround me just to invite me over for tea? Now that your skills are inferior, someone died. You're saying that I'm ruthless? Li Donghai replied calmly, that's right. This is how the martial world is. You're more skilled, so no one can say anything if you kill someone. However, you're in the Li clan's territory now. Chu Yang was stunned for a moment. Li clan? Are you from the Li family? Li Donghai smiled cruelly. That's right. It's our Li clan. He was shocked to see Chu Yang. Immediately, he thought that the other party was afraid of the Li clan's power and influence, and he couldn't help but feel even more oppressed. Chu Yang couldn't help but sneer. So what if it's the Li clan? He was initially stunned because of the Li clan. This was a very important part of Mo Tianji's plan. It was related to the overall direction of Mo Tianji's plan. That was why he was suddenly surprised. If he made a big enemy now, would it affect the plan in the future? However, Li Donghai's words stirred up the arrogance in Chu Yang's heart. Li clan? Even if it was the Li clan, so what? Can't I kill him? Li Donghai said with hatred, tell me your name. Chu Yang smiled gently behind the veil. There's no need to sign up for a bunch of dead people. Li Donghai looked up to the sky and roared, dead people? You'll know who the dead people are in a while. He smiled. You think you're lying in ambush here in advance? You think you can take advantage of this? This person is the sword sovereign. Just by relying on these few people. With these people, there was no way they could keep him here. If they wanted to keep this person here, they needed reinforcement. The roar pierced through the clouds and rushed up. Chu Yang's eyes flashed and his heart skipped a beat. This sentence of "you think you're lying in ambush here in advance" suddenly made him realize something. It turned out that these people didn't see him coming out from that passageway. The reason why Chu Yang was so easily angered by the other party's words and wanted to kill them was very much to silence them. After all, there was originally no passageway here, and after the Tribulation Sword Master obtained the 5th fragment of the Tribulation Sword, he could pass through the heavens once. This was definitely recorded in all the big clans. And there was a strange phenomenon in the sky just now. Once all these coincidences were put together, his identity as the Tribulation Sword Master would probably be exposed. Once his identity was exposed at such a time, it would be a disaster for his side. These words just now were blurted out by Li Donghai in a moment of desperation. Whether it was his tone, eyes, or expression, it clearly showed that he definitely wouldn't lie at such a time. Now that he knew that they didn't see anything, why should he be entangled with these people here? Moreover, they were from the Li clan. If he killed them now, wouldn't Chu Yang's heart ache? Wouldn't it be better to let them perish together with the big clans? If that's the case, then I'll take my leave. Chu Yang laughed and let go of his worries. Suddenly, he rushed out quickly. Li Donghai shouted, "Stop him, at any cost." The Li clan people all around attacked at the same time. Instantly, the fight became unusually intense. But since Chu Yang had made up his mind to leave, how could they stop him with just these people? Sword light flashed. When the first two people suddenly retreated, Chu Yang had already clashed with Li Donghai's sword and his body slanted out from here. Then, he leaped up at lightning speed and stepped on the cliff. As long as he succeeded in borrowing the force, Chu Yang was confident that he could shake off these people in an extremely short time and escape. Right at this moment, a fierce gust of wind pressed down on him. Chu Yang's heart skipped a beat and he raised his sword to meet it. With a boom, an unparalleled and abundant force pressed down on him. Chu Yang kept retreating. Suppressing the uncomfortable feeling in his chest, he looked up. Long howls sounded in the sky. 5 figures floated down. In the wind and snow, they were like immortals from the heavens, floating down and stepping into the world of mortals. "Since you're here, don't leave." A deep voice said, "I still have something to ask you. It's not too late to leave after you've made things clear." His voice was closest. It was the person who had clashed with Chu Yang just now. The 5 of them landed at the same time and occupied the corners. Chu Yang complained in his heart. One of them was a supreme martial artist. A super expert who had surpassed the boundary between immortals and mortals. What should he do now? Even if the sword spirit took over the body now, he would definitely not be a match for this person. He was a first-grade sword supremacy. If the sword spirit took over, he could at most be upgraded to the 3rd grade. With such a cultivation level, it would be very strenuous for him to go up against a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist. In an extremely short period of time, Chu Yang and the sword spirit discussed and quickly came to a decision. With the sword spirit in charge of the body, they would rather pay a certain price. The decision to break out of the encirclement and escape. As long as the other party made a move, they would act immediately. But before they acted, they had to take a look. Whether there was a turning point in this matter. Unless they were at their wits' end, they would definitely not take that path. "What's your name?" The eyes of the elder in the lead were cold, but there was actually a hint of gentleness. Although it was very hypocritical, it was still an attitude after all. He said, "Take off your mask and let this old man see your face." Chu Yang laughed hoarsely. "Why, do you think you've got me?" The elder had an amiable look on his face. He said lightly, "Why do you have to do this? Isn't it good for everyone to have a good talk and make friends? Besides, the right and wrong of this matter has to be judged. I've always been a reasonable person. If it's really our fault, it's not a big deal for me to apologize on your behalf." At the side, Li Donghai felt a chill in his heart. As expected, the clan had such an idea. He couldn't help but say with grief and indignation, 13th Master, Nanshan has already been beaten to the brink of death by him. And this person is obviously not. How do you know he's not? The elder waved his hand. He said nonchalantly, 5th brother is here. Nanshan won't die. Chu Yang was extremely puzzled. What's going on? Since when did the people of big clans become so well-mannered? I killed their people and they actually want to reason with me? I don't seem to have reached the stage where all the experts have to bow down to me once I show my domineering aura, right? Could it be that the benefits this time actually include this? The elder turned to look at Chu Yang and smiled lightly. Since you're not willing to take off your mask, then there's no harm in us talking like this. He actually took a step more lenient. Dare I ask you, at the bottom of this cliff, how long have you been there? How long have you been here? The elder asked softly but with a very serious expression. Chu Yang's mind flashed. According to the meaning of this sentence, I'm afraid these people have already sealed off the top for a long time. If I say that I just came in now, that's obviously not right. After thinking for a while, he said, I'm not very sure about the time, but it should be a few months. What's your intention for asking this? The elder's eyes lit up again. He said, in that case, you must know who the person who destroyed the Wind Thunder platform is. He squinted his eyes and smiled. He said, or, you yourself are the person who destroyed the Wind Thunder platform? The elder raised his head and looked at the cave that Chu Yang had just dug. He squinted his eyes and smiled. This cave is too close to the Wind Thunder platform. Don't you think so? Until now, Chu Yang still hadn't figured out what the other party's intention was. Hundreds of answers flashed through his mind. In the end, he still took a deep breath and answered cautiously, I don't understand what you mean. When he said that he didn't understand, the elder smiled. As if he had confirmed something, he smiled lightly. But I think your strength is not enough to destroy the Wind Thunder platform. May I ask, what method did you use to destroy the Wind Thunder platform? He actually seemed to be so sure that it was Chu Yang. Chu Yang took a deep breath and said, I still don't quite understand. The elder squinted his eyes and smiled. You'd better understand. If you still don't understand, it'll be very boring. Chu Yang said, so what if I did it? So what if I didn't do it? I don't understand. What's your intention? Chu Yang felt that there seemed to be something else behind this. He might as well admit it. Anyway, this Wind Thunder platform had nothing to do with the Tribulation Sword Master. If the fifth fragment of the Tribulation Sword had always been below, this Wind Thunder platform would have collapsed 8 times in these 10,000 years. Chapter 1240. This is an opportunity. In the tribulation space, the sword spirit said hurriedly, as far as I know, after the Li clan occupied the northwest back then, they realized that the terrain here was extremely cold and unsuitable for human habitation. Hence, they proposed to migrate. But before they could take action, they discovered that there was an extremely huge purple crystal mine under the northwest. Hence, the Li clan suddenly changed their mind and decided to stay. No one in the other big clans knew about this. The sword spirit said, the Li clan spent a huge amount of effort to establish themselves in the ice and snow wilderness and transform it into a place suitable for human habitation. The amount of effort spent is simply immeasurable. However, after the Li clan settled down and started to mine in secret, they realized that this purple crystal mine couldn't be mined at all. Why couldn't it be mined? Asked Chu Yang mentally. Because this huge purple crystal mine is actually wrapped in a strange metal. This kind of thing is somewhat similar to the Zhuge clan's Mount Xingyun. Even a peak-grade supreme martial artist can't destroy it. Hence, after the Li clan mined the ordinary purple crystals at the periphery, they could only look at the core and drool, unable to do anything about it. The sword spirit blinked. That's all I have to say. As for the rest, you can do as you deem fit. Chu Yang's eyes turned and he hurriedly asked, I only have one question. Are there any clans that specialize in mining purple crystals? If there were, the Li clan would have found them long ago. The sword spirit rolled his eyes and went into meditation. He was extremely confident that with such a hint from him, Chu Yang would definitely be able to think of a way to escape. The sword spirit had absolute confidence in Chu Yang, hence, the sword spirit went to rest right away. Chu Yang fell into deep thought. When the elder saw that Chu Yang didn't speak for a long time, as though he was in a trance, he thought that Chu Yang was worried. He chuckled, his eyes shining. It's good that you admit it. As far as I know, this wind thunder platform has been protected by the power of wind and thunder for 100,000 years. Even a peak-grade supreme martial artist may not be able to destroy it, but under your hands. You destroyed it easily. There must be a reason for this, right? Chu Yang hesitated. His eyes flickered. What if I don't say? The elder smiled cruelly. What do you think? Chu Yang closed his eyes and raised his head to look at the sky. He exhaled a deep breath and said with a bitter smile, since we've come to this point today, it seems that I have no choice but to say it. The old man smiled warmly. Very good. You are a smart man. In my generation, I like smart people the most. This super expert is eyeing us like a tiger watching its prey. What's the use of hiding our whereabouts? Chu Yang shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. He then reached out and took off his mask. A young man's face was revealed. Then, under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he peeled off a layer of skin from his face, instantly turning into a man in his 40s or 50s. In this way, it gave people the feeling that this was his true appearance. Everyone from the Li clan was dumbfounded. They didn't expect this guy to be so careful. He actually wore a human skin mask behind his face mask. The old man's eyes flickered, and he said, "You have the cultivation of a sword sovereign. This face is really unfamiliar." Chu Yang smiled bitterly. "I've never shown my face in Jianghu. So, I'm naturally unfamiliar with you. But in front of senior, what's the use of such a small trick?" Chu Yang's voice was sincere, and his posture was very low. The old man stroked his beard and smiled. It could be seen that this flattery made him feel comfortable all over. "I am Li Tongtian. How should I address you, little friend?" The old man, Li Tongtian, asked in a very amiable manner. "My lowly name is not worth mentioning." Chu Yang looked around awkwardly. Those 30 to 40 people were still glaring at him angrily. He had injured Li Nanshan. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. How could these people not be angry? Li Tongtian replied with an "oh" and smiled as if he was deep in thought. "Since that's the case, let's go out and find a place to talk." Then, a group of people clustered around Chu Yang and flew upwards. Just as Chu Yang had said, with a super expert by his side, there was no need to worry about Chu Yang running away. 7 supreme martial artists were looking at a first-grade sword supremacy. If he could still escape, that would be so embarrassing that he would die of embarrassment. Secondly, now was not the time to fall out with the Li clan. If they could find out how this person managed to topple the Wind Thunder platform and grasp this method, the Li clan could say that they would be rich. This was a problem that had not been solved for the past 10,000 years. Not to mention that Chu Yang had only beaten a first-grade supreme martial artist to such a state, even if he killed all those groups of people. Li Tongtian would definitely not fall out with Chu Yang now. Using torture to extort a confession. That was the last resort. What if the other party had a unique technique that would not be effective in a short period of time? Or what if the other party decided to destroy them indiscriminately, offending or killing the other party? Then this glimmer of hope would be gone. It was rare to see the other party being so reasonable and sensible. Li Tongtian felt as if he had picked up a treasure. The 7 of them flew away, leaving behind the 40 over people who were gritting their teeth. They were angry but did not dare to say anything. Everyone went up to the cliffs on both sides of the Wind Thunder platform and sped along. From afar, they saw a tent that was the same color as the snow. It had already been buried in the snow. "You dare to go in?" Li Tongtian smiled. "I said I don't dare to go in. Can I not go in?" Chu Yang asked with a smile. "You can't. Then of course I dare to go in." Chu Yang laughed. Li Tongtian laughed as well. He suddenly realized that he was starting to admire this guy. He was able to take risks and let go of them. He was really a first-class character. The 7 of them entered the tent. Li Tongtian gave a signal with his eyes. The 4 supreme martial artists immediately turned around and went out to guard the 4 cardinal directions. There were only 2 second-grade supreme martial artists left in the tent. Li Tongtian personally took out a teapot and tea leaves from his storage ring. He gathered spiritual energy and turned it into water. He boiled the tea leaves and poured the tea leaves meticulously. He actually looked like he was attentive to his guests. Good tea. Chu Yang took a sip and was full of praises. This tea is brewed from ice lotus sprouts in the land of wind and snow. It is unique to the Northwest. Drinking it can reduce the heat in one's body, stabilize one's internal energy, increase one's cultivation and refresh one's spirit. It can condense one's origin. Li Tongtian smiled lightly. Even I can only provide the clan with 0.5 kilogram of it every year. Chu Yang knew what he meant. It is my honor to be in your favor. Li Tongtian wasn't in a hurry. He rambled on and on. After drinking 3 cups of tea, he started to talk about the main topic. What you said just now, seems like you haven't finished. How is that not finished? I didn't say anything at all. Chu Yang muttered in his heart. Elder Li, since I can't even protect myself now, I naturally have to come clean. Chu Yang pondered for a moment. But I am so cooperative. All I ask for is a chance to stay alive. Li Tongtian laughed. Since you have said so, I promise on behalf of the Li clan, as long as you speak the truth, I guarantee with my life and character that you will be safe and sound. What kind of character do you have? Chu Yang scolded in his heart. His expression became even more sincere. Elder Li, you are so knowledgeable. You must know my background. Li Tongtian stroked his beard and smiled. He was somewhat reserved. You are right. In this world, there are really not many people or things that I don't know. My surname is Z. Chu Yang said meaningfully. He chuckled, with a kind of conceit and pride. He looked at Li Tongtian expectantly. Elder Li, I don't need to continue, do I? Li Tongtian frowned. Surname Z? What's wrong with surname Z? Why don't I have any impression of it? Li Tongtian raised his head and looked at his other younger brother in confusion. Then, the 2 lower-grade supreme martial artists shook their heads in unison. Obviously. They had never heard of. What kind of famous surname Z in the martial world? Li Tongtian coughed awkwardly. Thinking of his boasting just now, he couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. Young brother, please. I am a little ignorant. Chu Yang also revealed a stunned expression. I am ashamed. Chu Yang laughed self-deprecatingly. That's true. My clan has never appeared in the martial world. Recently, it has even become a single generation. It is normal that Elder Li has never heard of it. Li Tongtian actually couldn't help but comfort him. Brother Z, you don't have to take it to heart. It is really. Cough cough. This is the Heavens continent. Over the years, who knows how many clans that used to rule over a region have turned into dust. At least, your clan. And your existence. Compared to those clans that have disappeared forever, this is already a very fortunate thing. Yes, Elder Li is right. Chu Yang took a breath. How could he not tell? Although Li Tongtian's words were meant to comfort him, the threat behind them was also so obvious. If you don't listen, your clan will become like those clans, but why would I not listen? I can't wait to explain it to you. I am Zi Xiaoyan. Chu Yang seemed to be a little disappointed. I am from the Purple Crystal Clan. Purple Crystal Clan? Li Tongtian's eyes flashed. Beside him, the other person even trembled. Just the name of this clan alone was enough to make one's imagination run wild, especially the people from the Li clan, who were guarding a purple crystal mine that couldn't be mined. One could imagine how depressed they were. And now, someone who claimed to be from the Purple Crystal Clan had actually appeared. And this person was even able to destroy the Wind Thunder platform with his weak strength. Yes, our Purple Crystal Clan has extraordinary martial arts and has always been the source of trouble. Therefore, our ancestors have instructed that no one is allowed to leave the martial world. Chu Yang sighed. It's a pity that after a great change, I am the only one left. His sigh was, of course, ignored. The 2 supreme martial artists only had one thought in their minds right now: extraordinary martial arts. The source of trouble. What kind of extraordinary martial arts are considered the source of trouble? Our clan's purple crystal divine technique can resonate with the aura of purple crystals from a distance. We can easily find out where there are purple crystal mines. Furthermore, no matter how difficult it is to mine a purple crystal mine, we can easily mine purple crystals. This technique is really useless. Using a very proud and helpless tone, Chu Yang threw out a bombshell. And cylinders, say 3 things. The first thing, Vice Moderator Lord Ben Shin has recommended a book to me, Riding the Wind and Reigning in the Sword. It is currently ranked second on the monthly rankings of new books on the homepage. Everyone, please go and take a look. The second thing, there are some tragedies today. Cough cough, I have a small notebook, cough, from when I was studying. In it, I wrote some things that I can't let my wife see, such as love poems. The most terrible thing is that I had a crush on many people at that time, so I wrote a lot. Although I have never confessed to any of them, I have written a lot of love poems. This book has always been stuffed in the gap between the 2 innermost books in the bookshelf. I have even forgotten about it. But today, my wife went crazy and insisted on cleaning the bookshelf. I was hugging the otherworldly evil monarch on the balcony and enjoying myself when I was suddenly pulled up. What is this? The cigarette in my mouth fell onto my pajamas on the spot. My wife was amazed. So talented. There are quite a lot of people. Xia, Ari, Xiao. There are actually 14 or 15 of them, so awesome. The pitiful me has already been explaining for a whole day. Can't you see that this book has already turned yellow? What year is it now? Sigh. The third thing, there will still be an outbreak today, but it will be a little later. The gap between the monthly votes is getting wider and wider. I beg everyone to catch up a little and let me see some hope. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1241. Clang. The white jade teacup in Li Tongtian's hands fell to the ground and broke into 3 pieces. At this moment, Supreme Martial Artist Li's eyes were as big as copper bells. Even his breathing became hurried and his face flushed red. Can easily explore the purple crystal mine? Can easily mine the purple crystal mine? Isn't this the problem that has been troubling the Li clan for 10,000 years? How is it that this little guy who jumped out of nowhere actually solved this problem that has been around for 10,000 years? Li Tongtian only felt a wave of dizziness. That supreme martial artist beside him wasn't any better. His mouth was opened so wide that 2 duck eggs could be stuffed into it. A few soft sounds came from outside. The other 4 supreme martial artists who had been eavesdropping couldn't help but knock their heads against the tent. What's the matter? Asked Chu Yang in surprise. Nothing much. Li Tongtian said rather disheveled. Then, he raised his head and looked at Chu Yang. Brother Z. What you said just now. I don't quite understand. Cough cough, can you explain? Chu Yang shook his head helplessly. I also know that this kind of thing is very hard to believe. He laughed bitterly. But it's precisely because of this that my clan doesn't dare to come out into the world. We can only hide in the mountains and forests. However, our clan's bloodline is special. If we want to cultivate, we have to borrow the energy of purple crystals. He reached out his hand. Elder Li, take a look. Li Tongtian hurriedly looked over. In Chu Yang's fair palm, as he circulated his energy, a clear purple line appeared. This was purple through and through. The purest purple in the world. The moment it entered his eyes, Li Tongtian was already certain that he had never seen such a pure and majestic purple color in his entire life. Of all colors, this was the true ruler. Furthermore, Li Tongtian could tell that this was a pure purple that leaked out from the bloodline. It was definitely not some deliberate mystification, and neither was it some pigment precipitation. Li Tongtian tried to touch it. At once, he felt an indescribable feeling, as if his entire mind was about to be immersed in it. He let go of his hand in horror, his face already full of shock. This is my family's purple crystal divine art. Chu Yang sighed. Only those who are born with the purple crystal bloodline will have to open the purple crystal connection when they are still in their infancy and open the purple aura to the heavens. Before the age of 15, the first stage of the purple crystal divine technique must be broken through. Only then will one be able to sense the aura of the purple crystal after cultivating it to a certain level, determine the mineral veins and then plunder the purple crystal. Chu Yang's voice was filled with pain. His face was also filled with pain. In fact, there was even a hint of sadness in his voice. Such harsh conditions, and I can only be a miner after I've mastered it. What kind of tragedy is this? Li Tongtian was dumbfounded as well, his whole body trembling. To the Li clan, this is such a good thing. He rejoiced in his heart. Fortunately, I didn't use force. Otherwise, if I angered this little brat would have destroyed both jade and common stone. That would have been a complete loss. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if he managed to force out the purple crystal divine art and solve the problem with his mouth, just listen to what he said every day. How harsh were the conditions? Must be in the swaddling clothes of the purple crystal bloodline and open the purple crystal connection. Must reach the first stage before the age of 15. Which member of the Li clan had the purple crystal bloodline? Wouldn't that mean that they would all be eliminated in the first stage? It's all thanks to my cautiousness. Chu Yang continued to complain. Especially the cultivation of this divine art, which requires countless purple crystals. Other spiritual energy of the universe can't be used at all. Ever since the accident happened to the clan, I'm the only one left. All the treasures have also been taken away. My purple crystal divine art can't be continued anymore. That's why I came out to roam the martial world. These days have been tough. Chu Yang's tears and snot were all over his face as he spoke in an incredibly sorrowful manner. It's indeed not easy. Li Tongtian agreed with him absent-mindedly, his mind constantly plotting. Once I came out, it didn't matter, but it became even more tragic. Chu Yang's face was filled with grief and indignation. All the purple crystal mines are occupied by the big clans. Not to mention using purple crystals to cultivate. I've even been reduced to working as a blood pair to earn purple crystals to cultivate. Left with no other choice, I headed all the way north, specifically looking for a place where people rarely go. When I arrived here one day, I sensed a strong purple crystal aura. That's why I took the risk and broke the wind thunder platform. I had wanted to find a few pieces of purple crystals to use, but who would have thought that there was actually nothing in this wind thunder platform? It's just a purple crystal suppressing object. Chu Yang looked up at the sky and sighed. Purple crystal suppressing object? Li Tongtian's eyes instantly widened. I'd like to hear more about it. To put it simply, this wind thunder arena is here to suppress one's luck. Chu Yang explained somewhat helplessly. You won't understand if I put it this way. He added in his heart, actually, I don't understand it myself either. I really don't understand. Brother Z, please enlighten me. Li Tongtian eagerly poured more tea for Chu Yang. Let's put it this way. Purple crystal mines only exist in places where fate energy is abundant. And such places, in terms of geomancy and divination, are generally known as dragon veins, and this wind thunder platform is precisely suppressing the energy of the dragon veins, preventing it from leaking out. I thought that this was the dragon's head that was suppressing the dragon's head, so I bravely used the purple crystal divine technique to cut down all the way. Who knew that the purple crystal mine here was actually so huge? It was only when I cut all the way to the bottom that I realized that there was actually still a very long way to go from here to the real mine. Just as I was about to dig my way over from here, your people arrived. I finally endured for 3 months with much difficulty. Today, the weather finally became abnormal, with torrential rain, hail, and snow everywhere. I had originally wanted to take advantage of the heavens and earth to escape. Who would have thought that in such weather, I would actually be blocked by this powerful supreme martial artist? There was no way out for me. And, other than revealing my own secret, there was no other way out. Chu Yang looked up at the sky and sighed. This is fate. Could it be that our purple crystal clan is ultimately still unable to avoid the fate of working so hard for others to take advantage of? His confession was really tearful. But such a sorrowful confession was earth-shattering good news in the ears of the two supreme martial artists. As Chu Yang spoke sorrowfully, The more they listened, the more radiant they became. Towards the end, they were even beaming with joy, unable to contain their joy. This was really like someone sending a pillow to them when they wanted to take a nap. When they wanted to marry a wife, a young lady who was deeply in love with them came. The heavens were fulfilling their wishes. Why must our Lee clan have to suffer in such a bitter and cold place? Why does our Lee clan place so much importance on the matter of the Wind Thunder platform being severed this time? Isn't it because of this? After a few years, we have indeed reaped great rewards. I believe that even if the Elder Master were to hear of this news, he would also be so elated that he would jump high in joy, right? Underneath the Lee clan, there was an enormous purple crystal mine that was so vast that there was a sea of them. If all of them were to be mined out, hiss. Li Tongtian gasped in exhilaration, almost choking himself to death. This old man is too exhilarated. Yes, it hasn't been verified yet. I need to verify it first before I make any plans. Brother Z. Li Tongtian made up his mind. Do you really have such amazing skills? Chu Yang heaved a long sigh. Elder Li. Although our clan has never appeared in the world, have you really not heard of our Purple Crystal clan? I heard that in these tens of thousands of years, there was a generation of big clans. They even specially invited people from our Purple Crystal clan to go and select the terrain. Li Tongtian was rather embarrassed, but he was complaining in his heart. You also know that it has been tens of thousands of years. How many things can be forgotten in tens of thousands of years? Other things aside, how many times have the big clans changed? Do you still think that I would know? However, Li Tongtian could understand. Humans generally viewed themselves and their clans as exceptionally impressive. Even if they were just ordinary people, they also felt good about themselves and were extremely mighty. They always felt that others would remember them after they had done something. Actually, some things are very normal. It's just that you feel that you're impressive. You may view yourself as the most important person in the world, but in the eyes of others, who would view you as so important? Who knows, you might even be less than a fart. A fart could even stink for a while. Therefore, the biggest weakness of most people was that they thought too highly of themselves. This only successor of the Purple Crystal clan in front of him had committed exactly this problem. However, to Li Tongtian, not only was this not a problem, it was instead a weakness that could be exploited. Brother Z, as long as you really have this ability, you've really struck gold in coming to the northwest this time. Li Tongtian's eyes were vivid and enticing. Chu Yang curled his lips and chuckled bitterly. Elder Li, let's not beat around the bush. Since I've landed in your hands today, please just say it directly. What do you want me to do in order for you to let me go? Let's not beat around the bush. If I can't do it, you won't let me off either. This is something that no one needs to say. If that's the case, I'll leave my life behind. If I can do it, I'll finish it as soon as possible and leave as soon as possible. Li Tongtian laughed loudly, his white beard trembling. Brother Z, you're underestimating me too much. How can I be the kind of person who only knows how to take advantage of others? Our Li clan has been passed down for tens of thousands of years. When has our golden reputation ever done anything to let others down? Chu Yang was perplexed and shocked. Then, Li Tongtian beamed and said, Brother Z, this is your chance. As long as you really have the ability that you say, I can guarantee it. All the purple crystals that you need for your cultivation in the future, no matter how many there are, our Li clan will take them all and provide them for free. Chu Yang was pleasantly surprised. Really? Of course. Li Tongtian continued. Not only that. Furthermore, as long as you really have that ability, our Li clan can even help you rebuild the Purple Crystal clan. We'll take full responsibility to help you take in wives and concubines and pass down the family name. We'll even promise that our clans will be allies forever. We'll never betray each other in all our lifetimes. Chu Yang's breathing quickened. His eyes were misty and his fingers were trembling in agitation. His lips were trembling non-stop. You're not lying to me. Chapter 1242. Why would I lie to you? Li Tongtian smiled amiably. His eyes were gentle and proud, just like a weasel that had caught a chicken. Brother Z, I am a second-grade supreme martial artist who has crossed the boundary between immortal and mortal. Do you think that with my status, it is possible for me to lie to you? Chu Yang hurriedly replied, my apologies. There is no way that time would lie to me. There is no way that time would lie to me. Hu 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 hu. Li Tongtian's eyes flashed sharply. Look, you are in my hands now. I can threaten you with your life or use other means to make you submit. This is not difficult, right? Chu Yang repeatedly agreed. He looked extremely terrified. He was sweating profusely as he said, it's not difficult, it's not difficult. Li Tongtian nodded satisfactorily. But I will still give you a chance to cooperate. Overjoyed, Chu Yang said, as long as your clan can give me a certain degree of fairness and fulfill your promise, I, Zi Xiaoyan, will not hesitate to do this. Laughing, Li Tongtian said, that's right. Our clan wants to develop and your clan wants to survive. We can give you the greatest help. And you can also help us and solve our problems. In this way, everyone can get what they need. Isn't that good? We can talk about benefits first and then cooperate sincerely. This is better than scheming against each other, isn't it? Chu Yang laughed. Elder Li is indeed someone who can do great things. Li Tongtian smiled slightly and said reservedly, however, these things that you have said are only your side of the story. I have to verify it before I can introduce you to the clan with confidence. He raised his head indifferently and said, I need to see your abilities. Chu Yang said confidently, how do you want to see it? Li Tongtian tapped the table lightly with his fingers and said deeply, how can you make me see it? Chu Yang said excitedly, I can make you see it however you want to see it. Good. Li Tongtian clapped his hands. As long as you can help me find a purple crystal mine nearby, I will believe you. Chu Yang was furious at once. There is no purple crystal mine nearby. The only large purple crystal mine is 150 kilometers northwest from here. Where do you want me to find it? Li Tongtian was taken aback. Looking at him, he muttered in his heart, wouldn't we be at the Li clan if we head 150 kilometers northwest? This little Zhen was not simple. If it wasn't for the fact that your Li clan had occupied the main purple crystal mine, why would I have to go through so much trouble and risk being struck to death by the heavenly thunder to hack at this wind thunder platform? Chu Yang grumbled, his anger still not appeased. Li Tongtian pondered for a moment. Since that's the case, there's no time to lose. Let's return to the clan immediately. He left just like that. This supreme martial artist didn't even want the tent anymore. Instead, he stood in front of Chu Yang to protect him. With the fastest speed possible, they rushed towards the northwest like a bolt of lightning. Behind them, Li Donghai and the others looked miserable. Are we going to stay here or leave? Say something, Li clan. It was Chu Yang's first time coming to the northwest region, and it was also his first time seeing the world-famous Li clan. When he saw it from afar, he was already shocked. When he got closer, he felt even more shocked. The style of the Li clan. It was completely different from the Zhuge clan, which was located on flat ground. The entire mountain range was filled with buildings and lofty pavilions. Just like a huge dragon, it stretched across the entire mountain range. There were pavilions and pavilions everywhere, richly ornamented. Naturally, it exuded a majestic aura, as if a ferocious tiger roaring in the valley. Just by looking at the style of the buildings, one could tell that it was already insufferably arrogant. The entire mountain pass had been pierced through by a huge rock to form a huge gate. At the top, there was even a majestic carving of a divine dragon. Its claws were flying, looking very powerful. How majestic! This time around. Chu Yang said from the bottom of his heart. Majestic, right? Li Tongtian chuckled. In the future, you can stay here for a long time and you can still be majestic. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. Actually, I want to leave now. It's a pity that you definitely won't agree to it. Li Tongtian burst into laughter. He extended his hand and gestured. Please. Chu Yang strode into the Li clan with his head held high. On the way in, there were guards saluting along the way. There were countless defenses, both overtly and covertly. Chu Yang counted. There were actually as many as 35 lines of defense from the mountain gate all the way to the clan gathering place. Furthermore, there was an expert leading the team at every line of defense. The further in they went, the more powerful the team leader was. In the end, it was already third-grade supreme martial artists leading a group of martial saints in charge. The Li clan's main hall was very majestic. The moment they arrived at the main hall, the doors opened and two groups of people came out in an orderly manner. Li Tongtian was obviously used to it. He invited Chu Yang in eagerly. Just as the host and guest sat down, Chu Yang's expression changed. He said, "There's actually a purple crystal mine below this main hall." Li Tongtian burst into laughter, but there was a look of astonishment in his eyes. He thought to himself, I wasn't bragging here after all. I intentionally lured him here with the intention of testing him. I didn't expect him to have already sensed it before I even said anything. Chu Yang extended his hand. The purple line in his palm was clearly visible. It looked different from just now. This time, it was actually a little dazzling. When Li Tongtian looked at it, he actually found it dazzling. Once it senses the purple crystal mine, this bloodline purple aura will automatically awaken. But, it has never been so dazzling before. Chu Yang pondered deeply and frowned. Could this be? Suddenly, he stood up in shock. Could it be the purple crystal core mine? Li Tongtian was completely relieved and smiled. In his own clan, only supreme martial artists and above had the right to know about this. There was no way it would be leaked to outsiders. There was no way the Li clan would tell this guy. But this guy said it out right away. This time, it should be confirmed without a doubt. It's still not right. Chu Yang frowned, suspicious. Why is this aura so pure and yet so obscure? Did your clan use a special method to hide the purple crystal mine? This guy was completely relying on the information provided by the sword spirit. But one had to admit that in the world of heaven, there was no one else who could provide more accurate information than the sword spirit. Ha ha ha. Brother Z is indeed amazing. Li Tongtian burst into laughter. Li Tongtian's laughter was, of course, a signal. It was to tell the people inside, how is it? If you think it's okay, you can come out now. True enough, a few people entered the hall. They were the current leaders of the Li clan. They officially started to discuss the cooperation. Everyone began to haggle fiercely. The Li clan proposed, first, to help the Purple Crystal clan rebuild. Second, no matter how long Zi Xiaoyan lived in the future, all the purple crystals he needed would be provided by the Li clan. Third, to let Zi Xiaoyan have his own family in the Li clan. Fourth, both parties would be allies and not subordinate to each other. Fifth, Zi Xiaoyan would enjoy the treatment of a super high official in the Li clan. Such conditions. They were indeed sincere. But this Zi Xiaoyan was actually very dissatisfied. He proposed, the first condition was invalid. Even if he wanted to find a wife, she couldn't be from the Li clan. What if someone from the Li clan had the purple crystal bloodline? What should he do then? Would he still be able to live? Second, he didn't want the purple crystals provided by the Li clan, but he wanted 30% of the purple crystals he mined. No problem with the third, fourth and fifth. There was a dispute. It was the first and second conditions. Chu Yang put on a dead pig doesn't fear boiling water look. The understanding that he had shown in the valley had completely disappeared. He had become a piece of hobmeat. It was good that they couldn't come to an agreement. Chu Yang straightened his neck and stood up. Either you let me go, or you kill me, or you agree to my conditions. In the end, this guy refused to budge. The Li clan had no choice but to agree to the first condition. They thought to themselves, it's not too late to discuss this matter at length, as long as you stay here. There are countless beauties in the Li clan. Do you think they won't be able to seduce you? As long as you impregnate my daughter, won't the purple crystal bloodline be in your hands naturally? By then, can you still not nurture your own son? By the time you succeed, it will also be the time of your death. As for the second condition, There was a huge disagreement. Chu Yang demanded 30% of the purple crystal bloodline. The Li clan was exasperated. They had never seen such a greedy person. We have hundreds of thousands of people, but we only want 70%. You alone want 30%. What kind of logic is this? Then wouldn't it be the Li clan working for you? Both parties argued on the basis of reason and engaged in a war of words. This time, the Li clan didn't give in at all. 2 choices. 1. We will supply you with purple crystals. 2. You will take 1/250. The difference between 1/250 and 30% was obviously too big. How could Chu Yang let it go just like that? In the end, he pretended to be a dead pig. No matter what they asked, he didn't say a word. The Li clan was so anxious that they couldn't do anything. They really didn't expect this bastard to be such a troublesome piece of meat that couldn't be cut, chopped, cooked, or chewed. Yet they couldn't beat him, scold him, get angry, or kill him. Chu Yang was helpless too. If I don't act serious, you will become suspicious instead. If I get serious, you won't be willing. Do you think I want to be here with you? In the end, Chu Yang finally proposed a compromise. How about this? If there are only 100 purple crystals, I won't take any. If there are 1,000 purple crystals, I want 100 purple crystals. If there are 10,000 purple crystals, I want 1,200 purple crystals. If there are 100,000 purple crystals, I want 15,000 purple crystals, and so on. The Li clan still felt that they were at a disadvantage. Therefore, more than 10 supreme martial artists haggled and argued fiercely in the main hall, as though they were in a market. For a moment, saliva and bad breath flew everywhere. Their old and young faces were the same, all covered in saliva. In the end, they finally settled on the price, directly set it at 8%. If there were 100 purple crystals, there would be 8 for you. If there were 1,000 purple crystals, there would be 80 for you. If there were 10,000 purple crystals, there would be 800 for you, and so on. This was the limit. Chu Yang pinched his nose and agreed. At the side, Li Tongtian was almost asleep when this group of people finally came to a conclusion and finished dividing the loot. The few old men were so angry that their eyes turned blue. The way they looked at Chu Yang was as though they couldn't wait to swallow him whole. This fellow was too difficult to deal with. He was practically a miser. Wanting to take advantage of him was harder than ascending to heaven. Chapter 1243. The few old men who negotiated with Chu Yang were so angry that their eyes turned blue. Even when the negotiation was over, they still looked at Chu Yang with eyes that wished they could swallow him whole. This fellow was really too difficult to deal with. He was practically a miser. Trying to take advantage of him was harder than ascending to the heavens. I really have to hand it to the Li clan. Every one of you is a miser. Every one of you is a top-notch, veteran troublemaker. Trying to take advantage of all of you is harder than ascending to the heavens. Chu Yang started to take advantage of the situation seriously. He said in grief and indignation, "All of you have taken advantage of me. I've suffered a huge loss in this negotiation." This sentence made the few old men who were almost exhausted from negotiating with him earlier spit out a mouthful of blood in unison. Who exactly was the troublemaker here? Who was the one who had suffered a huge loss? You must speak with a conscience. One of the old men's fingers trembled. Just as he spoke, he was interrupted by Li Tongtian. Since we've finished negotiating the terms and the matter has already been settled, there's no point in saying anything more. Li Tongtian said bluntly, "Next, we should also arrange for Brother Zi's accommodation. We want the best guest room for him first. Tomorrow afternoon, arrange for people to take care of his daily needs. Remember, Brother Z is going to be staying here for a long time. Choose the best resources, the best location, and the most skilled people. As for the maids, choose the best. This afternoon, everything related to Brother Z must be arranged properly. His identity token and so on must be in place. Since we're allies, we must make friends with the greatest sincerity. Only by showing our sincerity can we exchange it for sincerity." Li Tongtian said sanctimoniously. Tomorrow morning, Select your best men and follow Brother Z to survey the purple crystal mine. As for us old fellows, we won't be accompanying you. However, there's something I have to say first. If there's anyone who's blind enough to offend Brother Z and make him angry, then, this old man will definitely not forgive them. As an important figure in the Li clan's ancestral generation, Li Tongtian's words naturally carried great weight. After he finished speaking, he quickly and discreetly gave a look behind Chu Yang's back. This made the negotiators come to a realization, you bunch of fools. Do you really think you're negotiating with him? It's just a formality. As for the purple crystals, what's wrong with leaving them with him first? Isn't that just for us? Once the plan succeeded, how many purple crystals would he have saved? We'll take back as many purple crystals as we want. Furthermore, take his life as well. All the old men understood tacitly. Of course, Chu Yang knew what was going on. Li Tongtian's words were extremely beautiful, but there was a discrepancy in the timing. They would stay in the guest room for tonight. Tomorrow morning, he would send someone to accompany him to survey the purple crystal mine. Tomorrow afternoon, he would allocate resources for him. Yes. If he discovered that this successor of the Purple Crystal clan did not have the ability or was unable to mine the Purple Crystal mine in the morning, then he could forget about allocating resources in the afternoon. He could forget about even thinking about keeping his life. That afternoon, the Li clan members brought Chu Yang to stay in the guest room. Naturally, Chu Yang had to pretend to be angry and suffer a great loss. He went in with a straight face. The housekeeper of the Li clan wanted to follow him in to help him clean up, but he was slammed shut by Chu Yang. The housekeeper's nose was almost caught in the crack of the door. He couldn't help but get angry. What are you so arrogant for? If you can't produce results tomorrow, this old man will personally punish you. Chu Yang was undoubtedly worried about the same problem. The sword spirit was definitely able to mine the purple crystal mine. Besides, he had hit the jackpot this time. On one hand, it was to take advantage of the situation. On the other hand, it was also to pave the way for Mo Tianji's future plans. However, the biggest problem was that sword spirits usually mined without making a sound. Nothing could be seen on the surface. The sword spirit would have finished mining. However, this obviously could not be done now because the Li clan wanted results. There had to be an effect. There had to be obvious progress. That was the only way. If there wasn't, his head would be rolling on the ground in an instant. On the surface, Chu Yang seemed to be deceiving them. He was full of lies and finally managed to sneak into the Li clan easily. However, in reality, this was the most dangerous situation Chu Yang had ever been in his life. This was not like when he was in Great Zhao. Back then, he could still move around freely and there were plenty of cover. He could hide anywhere for 10 days to half a month. But now, his every move was under the surveillance of others. This was the core area of one of the great clans, their headquarters. The slightest bit of carelessness would result in a tragic death. There wasn't even the slightest chance of escaping. It could be said that Chu Yang was dancing on a tightrope above a cliff. Life and death were just a matter of swaying. Sword spirit, how is it? Are you confident? Chu Yang closed the door and immersed his consciousness into the tribulation space. The sword spirit revealed a strange expression and said, "There should be no problem." Chu Yang was relieved. "What level are you at now?" Chu Yang asked. "I've basically recovered completely. Now that I'm at your level, I can exert the cultivation of a peak third-grade supreme martial artist." There shouldn't be any problem. The sword spirit was very happy. There had never been a tribulation sword master who had improved so quickly. Even he was basking in the glory. "If we fight now, I can totally deal with those below the supreme grade." Chu Yang frowned and said, "But what does the difference between a 5th-grade supreme martial artist and a 2nd-grade supreme martial artist mean?" The moment he asked this question, the sword spirit also became distressed at once. There's really no way to explain this question clearly. Without experiencing it personally, it's very difficult to explain that subtle feeling. It's a kind of difference between transcendence and non-transcendence. The sword spirit pondered for a moment and said, "Look at Li Tongtian. Whether it's his expression or the way he walks, he's very calm. Even if it's a conspiracy, when it comes out of his mouth, it's also very casual. This is the strong foundation brought about by the difference between a celestial and a mortal. And Yu Lingxue, Feng Yuro, and so on. Their expressions and aura are all very transcendental. This is also a kind of performance. Of course, when one reaches the level of Biyu Liuqing and Ning Tianya, it's another step. And this step is a step that allows one to return to one's true nature. Every action and action is not that kind of transcendence, but it brings out one's true nature. Not hiding at all. The sword spirit's words were vague and obscure, but Chu Yang already understood. This was indeed an indescribable and unexplainable realm. Or rather, it was a foundation. Only with great power can one have confidence in oneself. Haven't you seen some of the big shots or super rich people in the society? They all carry a kind of certainty involuntarily, or rather, a kind of demeanor. All of them are unhurried, as if they're neither dead nor alive. Whether they're officials or rich people, they all have this kind of confidence. As for the ordinary poor people, when they see these people, they can't help but feel that they're inferior to them. This is it. It's just that the foundation of these people is money and power. But in Chu Yang's world, the foundation is cultivation. If these people still carry this kind of foundation when they arrive in Chu Yang's world, they'll probably transmigrate again in a matter of minutes. Cough. Stop nagging, I'm trying to fill in the chapter. And so, Chu Yang began to practice. In the eyes of those people who had been closely monitoring this room, they saw a scene like this. They saw this successor of the Purple Crystal clan holding a piece of purple crystal in each hand and adopting a strange posture. His legs were spread apart and he was squatting in a horse stance, as if he was taking a dump. He held the purple crystal in both hands and placed it in front of his heart, maintaining the unity of his three hearts. He looked down at his nose and entered a meditative state. Then, they saw a layer of faint purple energy emitting from the purple crystal, which was absorbed into the nostrils of the successor of the Purple Crystal clan. After a long time, this successor of the Purple Crystal clan sighed. Looking at the two pieces of purple crystals in his hands, they had already turned into powder. Such a cultivation method was practically unheard of. Everyone used the acupoints on their palms to absorb the spiritual energy of the universe inside the purple crystal, but this successor of the Purple Crystal clan was really worthy of being called the successor of the Purple Crystal clan. To think that he actually used his nose, several experts who were monitoring from different directions reported this observation at the same time. The experts of the Li clan discussed and studied it for a long time. All of them felt that this matter was extremely mysterious and they couldn't understand it at all. It looked like this was definitely a cultivation method unique to the Purple Crystal clan. The next morning, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Someone knocked on the door. Lord Z, may I know? Chu Yang lay comfortably on the bed. In a daze, he cursed loudly, fuck. What are you knocking for? Are you dead? Can't you even let me sleep? Outside, the clan leader of the Li clan, Li Wubua, was waiting with his hands behind his back. His face darkened. This bastard is really asking for a beating. The clan leader of the Li clan had originally wanted to show respect to the wise, but the moment he arrived, he was so infuriated by this sentence that he wanted to defecate. Without saying a word, he turned and left. Only the butler who was knocking on the door continued to wait angrily. After a long time, Chu Yang finally opened his clothes. Half of his chest was exposed as he opened the door. With sleepy eyes, he scolded, "What the hell is this? Don't you know the rules?" The butler was enraged, but he still suppressed his temper. It's like this, Second Master. Second Master is currently waiting for Lord Z to head to the Purple Crystal Mine. So, it's a matter of bearing. It's a matter of self-restraint. Chu Yang was exasperated. I'm right here and can't run away. Why is that Second Master of yours so anxious? Will he die if I wake him up a little longer? All of them are so rash. No wonder the Li clan can't become the #1 great clan. It's because they are too rash. Look at the Yi clan, what kind of self-restraint is that? Learn from them. The butler wished he could pick up a toilet bowl that had just been used and smash it over Chu Yang's head. But he still had to nod and bow. Cough cough. Lord Z, please move, wait. Let me wash my face. Chu Yang was furious. He slammed the door shut. With a loud bang, the butler was thrown out of the room while covering his nose. By the time Chu Yang arrived at the main hall, an hour had already passed. Brother Z, have you slept well? Li Wuhai, the second master of the Li clan, asked with a fake smile. What big shot! He actually caused him to wait here for more than 2 hours. Chu Yang raised his eyes. Ah, what's the matter? Breakfast hasn't been arranged yet. You actually want to eat breakfast? Li Wuhai almost choked to death. He waved his hand. Serve Lord Z breakfast. Lord Z. I like this title. Chu Yang sat down boldly. When breakfast was served, he ate to his heart's content until his belly was round and round. Only then did he pat his stomach and stand up. Looking at everyone whose eyes were spitting fire, he said, What are you all waiting for? Aren't you going to see the purple crystal mine? Why aren't you leading the way? Do you want an outsider like me to lead the way? Each and every one of them was as dumb as a bird. How could they not care about such an important matter? No wonder the Li clan couldn't become the #1 clan. Li Wuhai held his breath. Brother Z, please, I'll lead the way. That's right. Chu Yang followed behind him, grumbling incessantly, look at your Li clan. The upper echelons don't pay attention to you, the upper echelons don't pay attention to you, the lower echelons don't pay attention to you, and the lower echelons don't pay attention to you. As a whole, you're like a plate of loose sand. Why would this happen? I find it extremely strange that it's actually listed as a big clan. If I participate in the ranking of strange events, it will definitely be listed as the top of the top 10 strange events in the past 10,000 years. And cough cough, I cleared my throat and roared, monthly votes, AOO tilde 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 and G. Chapter 1244. After this incident, everyone knew that this Master Z had a very bad temper, and he was hard to please. One wrong word and he would be fiercely reprimanded on the spot. And this Master Z never cared who was in front of him. Even the second brother of the clan master, the second master of the Li clan, was scolded like a child by him. Whether they were convinced or not, at least on the surface, all of them were more well-behaved. Chu Yang's unscrupulous behavior had a good effect. And this effect would definitely continue. All the way until Chu Yang completed his goal and left, the effect this time would be present throughout the entire process. Walk faster. Dilly-dallying. How is this the look of someone who is doing something big? Chu Yang urged impatiently. Li Wuhai gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. He immediately flew up. You want to be fast? I'll pull you until you're nowhere to be seen. He didn't expect to receive this Master Z's praise. This speed is more like it. And this Master Z actually didn't lag behind at all and kept up with him. Finally, they reached the purple crystal mine. Chu Yang couldn't help but gasp. This was a huge mountain. To be precise, this was the foot of the huge mountain where the Li clan gathered. The entire mountain was surrounded by the buildings of the Li clan, and on the side of the mine, there were no trees within 100 miles. One could see the bottom of the mountain at a glance. And there was even a tall wall that was more than 100 feet tall blocking the way. On the wall, there was a sentry tower every 30 feet, keeping a close watch on the movements inside. Not to mention humans, even a fly wouldn't be able to fly in. At the foot of the mountain, there was a huge cave that could accommodate 20 carriages side by side. Countless people were entering and exiting. Everyone who came out carried a basket on their backs. Inside were densely packed with purple crystals. After a steward checked the quantity and recorded it down, they went in again. Another cave at the side. This was obviously the storeroom. It was even more massive. The surroundings were even more heavily guarded. There were actually more than 10 supreme martial artists guarding the place. And this was just on the surface. There was no telling how many more were hidden in the dark. After all, this was the true core lifeline of the Li clan. looking at those shiny purple items being carried out one by one and put into that huge storeroom. Chu Yang once again felt that he was really a pauper. This was what a rich man should be like. Based on a rough estimate, if the warehouse was filled to the brim, it could easily fit several billion. There were already several people waiting in front of the cave. They were the current clan leader of the Li clan, Li Wubua. Seeing Chu Yang's arrival, several people came forward to greet him. Lord Zi, this is my big brother. Li Wuhai snorted. He reminded, my big brother is the current clan leader of the Li clan. Chu Yang's eyes lit up, and he went forward to greet him enthusiastically. He grabbed Li Wubua's hand and said, oh my. Clan leader Li, ha ha ha. I've heard so much about you, and it's my honor to meet you today. Sure enough, clan head Li's reputation was not as good as meeting him in person, but meeting him in person was even better than hearing about him. She was indeed a valiant and pure overlord. A heroic man. Now that I've met Patriarch Li, I finally understand why the Li clan is one of the dominant clans in the heavenly realm. Impressive, impressive. Li Wubua's face froze. No matter how thick-skinned he was still dizzy from all the flattery. Li Wuhai, who was at the side, was even more shocked. So this bastard's arrogance differed from person to person. When he saw him, he was so arrogant, but when he saw his big brother, he was so enthusiastic that it was unbearable. Lord Zi, you're too kind. Li Wubua smiled and said, we're going to be a family in the future. Lord Zi, you should be more casual. That's right, that's right. Chu Yang nodded repeatedly. I wonder what's wrong with this purple crystal mine. He pointed at the people who were carrying baskets of purple crystals out. Isn't this place rich in resources? From the looks of it, the mining is also very smooth. It is indeed very smooth. Brother Zi, there's something you don't know. Li Wubua sighed. 3,000 feet below this place is a densely packed purple crystal mine. The size of the mine is immeasurable. Basically, for every 100 stones mined, there are close to 4 to 5 purple crystals. Chu Yang was speechless. Such a high ratio of crystals. That's absolutely terrifying. However, if the mining continued like this, wouldn't this mountain have collapsed long ago? As everyone knew, purple crystals were usually hidden in rocks. When the rocks were mined, specialized people would have to use the purple crystal sanding hands to carefully polish the rocks and then extract the purple crystals. During this process, if the purple crystals were to be damaged, the spiritual energy of the universe would be lost to a large extent. Generally speaking, for a purple crystal mine, if 5 out of 1,000 stones mined contained purple crystals, it could already be said to be a super purple crystal mine. However, this purple crystal mine of the Li clan was actually able to produce a yield of 1,000 stones from other purple crystal mines. This was practically inconceivable. No wonder the Li clan stayed here and refused to leave. This is where the problem lies. Li Wubua laughed bitterly and said, we've been mining for 10,000 years, but we've only mined the periphery. Moreover, the deeper we go, the less purple crystals there are left. However, what's depressing is that in the middle of this purple crystal mine, there's a super purple crystal mine, but we can't break through its exterior and mine it. It's only this piece that supports the entire mountain from the bottom to the top. No matter how we dig, it won't collapse even if we don't put up any defenses. There's actually such a thing. Chu Yang frowned. Even supreme martial artists can't mine it. Li Wubua sighed. Even a low-grade supreme martial artist can't break it. Chu Yang's expression became heavy. For 10,000 years, the purple crystals mined by the Li clan are more than several billion. However, all of them are of the same quality, the most ordinary purple crystals. There's not even a single purple crystal core, and in that part that can't be broken through, even the lowest quality is purple crystal core. At this point, Li Wubua sighed. Every time such a problem was brought up, all the higher-ups of the Li clan would have the urge to vomit blood. Such a situation was just like a bunch of paupers guarding a mountain of gold. They clearly knew that moving a stone from this mountain of gold would make them a tycoon, but they couldn't even scrape off a single bit of it. One could only imagine how depressing they were. I'll go in and take a look. Chu Yang's expression was heavy. He said, I don't know if I can break it. This is the first time even for our Purple Crystal clan. A low-grade supreme martial artist should be able to twist star iron and nightmare steel into a fried dough twist. There's actually a stone here that even a low-grade supreme martial artist can't break. What kind of stone can it be? As he spoke, he was about to walk in. Cough cough, Brother Z, to enter this purple crystal mine, you have to check your body thoroughly. Furthermore, you can't bring any storage equipment in, Li Wubwa said rather embarrassedly. Oh, yes, there's such a rule. Chu Yang readily accepted his advice. He took off that empty storage ring that had no other purpose other than to fool others and handed it to the elder guarding the purple crystal mine. Then, he allowed them to search his body. After confirming that there was nothing on him other than a set of clothes. Brother Z, please don't blame me, Li Wubwa apologized with a smile. It's all right. These are the rules. Nothing can be accomplished without rules, Chu Yang said magnanimously. What's wrong with that? I have the tribulation space with me. Its capacity is 10,000 times larger than that of a storage ring. After entering the cave, he actually felt a wave of warmth. After walking in for a while, a huge space suddenly appeared. Countless people were working here. The sound of grinding could be heard everywhere. All the purple crystal ores that had been mined were placed here. There were a total of 1,000 people who were skilled in grinding hands opening the stones and extracting purple crystals. They first used their large sabers to hack off the corners of the stones. Then, they cut the stones piece by piece. If they didn't find any purple crystals, they would continue cutting until the stone was completely sliced into pieces. Then, they would proceed to the next piece. If they found faint traces of purple inside, they would start to use their grinding hands to slowly grind it. When a piece of purple crystal was completely extracted, the stone would also turn into powder. After all, these ores were very strange. Even a low-grade supreme martial artist couldn't be sure which piece would contain purple crystals. The purple crystals that had been mined were placed separately. The shattered stones and stone powder were immediately cleaned up and transported out. The entire process was done in an orderly manner. Only the loud noise didn't stop from beginning to end. This process was very slow. However, with 1,000 people working together, it was also very fast. There were only a dozen people in charge of transporting the purple crystals out. They almost didn't stop. When they went out and came in again, there was already a big basket of hundreds of pieces. In the depths of the cave, there were more than a dozen spacious passages. Large carts of huge stones were continuously transported out. These were the raw ores. Brother Z, what do you think? Li Wubwa introduced. From here, there are a total of 18 passages into the purple crystal mine. After going deeper into each passage, there are nearly 100 more tunnels. Every day, there are no less than 30,000 people working here. It's all right. It's just that the efficiency is a little low. Chu Yang nodded lightly. A little low. Li Wubwa almost couldn't catch his breath. This was already the fastest and most efficient method. You actually said that it was low. Chu Yang walked up to a huge pile of raw ores. He reached out and placed his hand on it. Then, he shook his head and said, there are no purple crystals in this piece. With a raise of his hand, he smashed the raw ore into pieces. Indeed, there was nothing inside. Then, he pasted another piece. Still nothing. He smashed it again. After 3 pieces in a row, it was the 4th piece. There are. Bring me a knife. He took the knife casually. With 4 slashes, a complete piece of purple crystal was cut out. Purple light flashed. There was actually no damage at all. The entire process left the Li clan members dumbfounded. Chu Yang threw down the knife. Pursing his lips, he said very pretentiously, this is called high efficiency. Li Wubwa's eyes lit up like searchlights. Brother Z is indeed the successor of the Purple Crystal clan. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Since ancient times, no one had ever seen through the purple crystal raw ores. But in the hands of this person, they were actually as transparent as glass. What a terrifying ability. Chapter 1245. Li Wubo decided at once even if this guy couldn't mine the core purple crystal mine inside, he couldn't kill him either. With his cultivation and speed, it would be a piece of cake for him to mine 20,000 purple crystals in a day. What a talent. All these are really boring. Lord Z clapped his hands smugly. Let's go and take a look at the purple crystal mine that can't be mined. Yes, yes, yes. Li Wubo nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. At this moment, his confidence was increasing continuously. The other party actually had such unfathomable abilities. It looked like it was highly possible to mine that damned purple crystal mine that couldn't be mined for the past 10,000 years. After entering the mine, under the lead of a supervisor, the few of them walked briskly, bearing with the noise as they walked down. After walking down a full 3,000 feet, they finally arrived at a huge space. From here, it looked like a huge cylindrical mountain with a width of several thousand feet. Its height and depth were unknown. The surroundings were already bare from top to bottom. It's here. The entire inside is filled with purple crystals. Li Wubo frowned and smiled bitterly. The surrounding purple crystal mines have already been mined and are now extending outwards. Only the core has not been touched in the past 10,000 years. Even if a low-grade supreme martial artist were to mine with all his might, he wouldn't be able to leave even a white mark on it. It's so sturdy and solid. I really don't know what this thing is. Let me take a look. Chu Yang walked forward and placed his hand on it. Suddenly, his countenance changed. That's right. There are indeed huge amounts of high-quality purple crystals inside. The most inferior ones are also purple crystal cores. There's no doubt about this. Can it be mined? Li Wubo asked seriously. Let me try. All of you, step back. Chu Yang's countenance was grim. Everyone retreated as instructed. This purple crystal successor squatted in a horse stance. Then, he raised both his hands and fingers together, as if he was using a lot of force to push forward. In just an instant, his face was already flushed red. This posture made him look like he was constipated. As if he couldn't pull it out no matter how hard he tried. Then, this Lord Z started to exhale. Hey tilde 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 with a shout, a clear purple line appeared in his palm, as if it was about to break out of his palm. Then, with a majestic gait, he approached the huge cylinder step by step, as if he was carrying the weight of a mountain. Then, with a hair sound, he slowly placed his right palm on it. In his palm. Tightly stuck to the surface. Immediately after, his palm began to rotate. The speed at which it spun was as slow as an old cow pulling a broken chariot. He kept yelling hey tilde tilde hey tilde tilde hey tilde tilde as if he was constipated. His face was steaming hot. His face gradually turned purple. Everyone's faces twisted as they frowned. This sound was truly unbearable. Just listening to this sound. Everyone thought that they were squatting in the toilet, and there was someone suffering from constipation next door. Blurg. After a long time, Lord Z sat on the ground with a thud, panting heavily. His whole body trembled, and sweat poured out like a waterfall. In an instant, his clothes were completely soaked. How is it? Li Wubo and the rest approached him immediately. It can be mined. But it's very troublesome, Chu Yang said weakly. Everyone didn't hear his last few words at all. They only heard the two words can be mined, and they cheered in unison at once. Purple crystal core and purple crystal were two completely different things. The effect of purple crystal core was more than 100 times that of purple crystal, and the energy of heaven and earth was more concentrated and pure. Everyone hurriedly looked at the place where Chu Yang's palm had been placed. With one look, everyone was overjoyed and speechless at the same time. It was indeed effective. And Lord Z was right, it was indeed very troublesome. And not just any kind of troublesome. The place where Lord Z's hand had been placed did indeed have some changes. This change proved that this purple crystal mine could be mined, a tiny hole as thick as a strand of hair. Only half an inch deep. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't be able to tell. This was also the reason why everyone was overjoyed, because before this, a peak-grade supreme martial artist had worked hard for a very long time, but he couldn't even leave such a tiny mark. But this was also the reason why everyone was speechless. This successor of the purple crystal sect had used up the strength of a camel and only managed to create such a tiny result. If they waited until the mine was completely cleared, how long would they have to wait? When would they be able to reach the point where they could enter a hole as big as a person? I need purple crystals. I need large amounts of purple crystals. This Lord Z was obviously a little deranged. Gritting his teeth, he said, I need the power of purple crystals to maintain my attack on this fortress. I've never encountered such a supremely precious purple crystal mine, neither has our clan in the past 100,000 years. This is our purple crystal clan's greatest challenge, and also the greatest opportunity in the heaven continent in the past 100,000 years. The greatest fortune. Lord Z gritted his teeth, his gaze ferocious. I must extract all the purple crystals inside. Li Wubua consoled him. Take it slow. It's good that there's hope. Let's take our time. Actually, he was more eager than anyone else. But now that he saw that this Lord Z was obviously going crazy, he couldn't help but console him as well. No. Lord Z raised his arms and shouted, Clan leader Li. You may not know this, but according to our Purple Crystal Clan's secret experience over the past 100,000 years, this place is too terrifying. Too terrifying. Inside this place, the purple crystal cores are merely the outermost layer. Inside, the next step was the amethyst exquisite heart. The amethyst exquisite heart also contained the amethyst jade essence. Inside the purple crystal jade essence is the soul of the purple crystal. Inside the soul of the purple crystal is the holy crystal. Do you know about the holy crystal? It's something that has only existed in legends and has never been seen before. Do you know? The number of souls of the purple crystal here is terrifying. There's definitely more than one holy crystal. There are at least 10 of them. The core of the holy crystal is the divine crystal. Do you know about the divine crystal? Do you know? Huh. Do you think that there are only a few purple crystal cores inside such a terrifying seal? Bastards. A bunch of short-sighted bastards. The successor of the Purple Crystal Clan, Lord Z, roared agitatedly. As he roared, his saliva sprayed all over the Li clan leader's head and face. In the end, he even started cursing. But the Li clan leader didn't care at all. He didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He had already fainted from the immense bliss. The purple crystal cores were only the outermost layer. Purple crystal core. Purple crystal jade essence. Souls of the purple crystal. The number was terrifying. Holy crystals. At least 10 of them. Divine crystals. Oh my god. Li Wubua and the rest were so shocked that they felt dizzy. Their bodies started trembling all over. Titi this. These were all the most top-grade treasures in the legendary land of legend. At this moment, everyone was so blissful that they almost wanted to run around naked. Everyone's hearts stopped beating at this moment. Too blissful. I can't believe my ears. How many purple crystal core had appeared in the entire continent since ancient times? Definitely not more than 100. Moreover, only one piece would appear in the core of a large-scale purple crystal mine. As for the purple crystal jade essence, they were even rarer. They could be counted with one hand. And now, there was actually something of an even higher grade. Soul of the purple crystal? Holy crystals? Divine crystals? Oh my god, oh my earth, oh my god. That successor of the Purple Crystal Clan was still stomping his feet and roaring. Holy crystals. Just one piece, to absorb the energy inside. Just one piece is enough to make a first-grade supreme martial artist. To become a peak-level supreme martial artist overnight, or even to collapse the heavens and shatter the void. Chu Yang was gasping for breath. Everyone was doing the same thing. Their eyes were wide open in ecstasy, and they were trembling all over. Instantly, they were stunned. Complete silence. After a long while, Li Wubua asked in a trembling voice, what if it absorbs the divine? Divine crystals? Chu Yang pursed his lips. Divine crystals? Even if the Tribulation Sword Master from 10,000 years ago directly absorbed the divine crystals, he would also explode and die from the powerful energy. Another shock. Chu Yang wasn't lying. According to the sword spirit's inspection, this was indeed a super purple crystal mine. Its capacity was enough to become the #1 in the continent. The purple crystal jade essence, soul of the purple crystal, holy crystals, divine crystals, were also not nonsense. They really existed. Moreover, its power was just like what Chu Yang had said, absolutely terrifying. Chu Yang had originally thought that the super purple crystal mine here would very likely contain the second segment of the Tribulation Sword. This was the most important reason why he had taken the risk to enter the Li clan this time. If he could find the second segment of the Tribulation Sword here, how great would that be? But he didn't expect that there wasn't. There was only the purest purple crystal mine here. A super huge treasure trove. The sword spirit scoffed at Chu Yang's idea. If the Tribulation Sword is inside, it will definitely destroy the divine crystals. And although the Tribulation Sword has drunk countless blood, it only knows how to nurture heavenly treasures and will never destroy them. So the Tribulation Sword isn't here. However, if you obtain the things inside, the effects won't be much worse than obtaining the second fragment of the Calamity Sword. Moreover, the effects will be different in certain aspects. In some aspects, it will far surpass the Tribulation Sword, and the holy crystals and divine crystals will also be of great use to your future development. The sword spirit even gritted his teeth. No matter what, you must get it at all cost. Chu Yang rolled his eyes. Get it? Will it be useful to you? The sword spirit was surprised. I'm just a soul. What use is it to me? If it's useless to you, why are you so agitated? Chu Yang looked down at the sword spirit. Then I don't want it. The sword spirit was dejected. Nonsense. How can I not want such good things? Chu Yang shouted angrily. It's good that it's useless to you. Isn't it fine as long as it's useful to me? In his consciousness space, he gritted his teeth and shouted ferociously, no matter what. At all cost. I must get it all. It's a waste not to take it. It's a waste even if I take it. How can I not do such a good thing? Chu Yang roared. The sword spirit completely fainted from anger, too shameless. Chapter 1246. I need purple crystals. The more, the better. The more, the better. A certain successor of the Purple Crystal clan waved his arms and roared loudly. His face was agitated, his eyes were burning and his whole body was spasming. I need a place to stay as soon as possible. I need the authority to enter and exit the Purple Crystal mine freely. I need all of you to gather everything I need in the next moment. I need, as though he had gone crazy, Chu Yang listed his conditions again and again. I need purple crystals to improve the purple crystal divine technique and speed up the deciphering process. I can't wait a moment longer for such a huge treasure. I need to enter and leave freely so that I can come whenever I have inspiration, whether it's day or night, whether it's midnight or midnight. Do all of you understand? My place must be the most luxurious. I must be able to swim in the room. I must be able to relieve myself in the room without smelling anything. All of this is related to my mood. If I'm in a bad mood, my progress will be slower. I need servants to serve me. I need my maids to be able to participate in the heavenly beauty pageant even if they're the worst looking. They mustn't be too short. They mustn't be fat or skinny. They mustn't have a flat body. This will affect my vision, and my vision will affect my mood. My mood will lead to. I like to be quick and decisive. I don't like to drag things out. In the future, my orders must be executed immediately. If there's any delay, kill without mercy. I need an independent space. When I'm deciphering this huge purple crystal mine, other than the moment when I'm about to succeed, all other times, everyone must get lost as far away as possible. I'm not here to play games. If the above conditions can't be met, there's no point in me living anymore. Chu Yang's continuous barrage of conditions shocked everyone in the Li clan who had yet to wake up from the huge surprise. But who was Li Wubua? He was the head of a big clan. How shrewd and ruthless was he? How quick-witted was he? In just a moment, he came back to his senses and immediately issued orders in rapid succession. Prepare purple crystals for Lord Z immediately. Prepare 10,000 crystals first. Arrange for the core residents immediately. Give Lord Z a token to enter and leave the purple crystal mine freely. When Lord Z deciphers the purple crystal mine, no one is allowed to watch. Prepare maids for Lord Z immediately. He wanted the highest quality beauties. I want all of them to be pure girls. Immediately. Chuyang waved his hand. Send these prepared purple crystals to where I'm staying. Tonight. I need to work overtime. Then, he sat down on the ground and said, just now, I used too much of my strength. I can't walk anymore. Li Wubo hurriedly shouted, men, carry Lord Z back. Like a myriad of stars surrounding the moon, the group lifted Lord Z up and sent him back. His cautiousness was no less than that of a seriously ill white-haired mother. To suddenly discover that this purple crystal mine actually contained such a huge amount of shocking treasures, Lord Z's current status in the Li clan was extremely high. Now, it had risen to the status of a national treasure. Don't provoke this master. Don't make this master unhappy. The future of the entire Li clan now rested on this master's purple crystal divine technique. The Li clan's thinking was very complicated, but also very simple. Now was a time of trouble. Once this batch of purple crystals was mined, it would have a shocking value. Furthermore, it would be able to create a huge number of experts for the Li clan in the shortest time possible, especially now that one of the tribulations was in their clan. From this aspect, their clan had actually already broken off relations with the other 8 superclans. In the future, the tribulation swordmaster would come. Their clan would inevitably have to fight a life-and-death battle with the other 8 superclans. This was something that they had no chance of winning at all. Even if they were to face one of them alone, they also had no chance of winning. What more 8 superclans? If the situation became clear and they were attacked by a group, then the Li clan would be able to protect Li Xiongtu in the end. This was already a great fortune. As for how many of the others in the clan would be able to follow Li Xiongtu and create a prosperous future, they really had no confidence at all. However, the heavens were on their side. Right at this moment, within their own clan, they suddenly discovered such a shocking amount of treasures, and it was a huge treasure that could create more than 10 supreme martial artist experts in the shortest time possible. Wouldn't the Li clan be like a tiger that had grown wings? If that was really the case, coupled with the power of the Tribulation Swordmaster, then the Li clan could practically advance triumphantly across the new era with only a small price to pay. This was no longer a pie falling from the sky. It was a golden brick falling from the sky. And to this successor of the Purple Crystal clan, who was the only one in the world who could excavate this treasure, wouldn't he be even more precious? Therefore, Li Wubo agreed to Chu Yang's conditions almost without any hesitation. He knew very well that under the huge surprise of discovering such a huge treasure, this successor of the Purple Crystal clan had already gone a little crazy. If he were to make him unhappy at this moment, it would be equivalent to pouring cold water on the furnace. The reaction it would cause would be immeasurably severe. Watching a certain successor of the Purple Crystal clan being carried away, Li Wubo could no longer control the joy on his face. I'll go look for the Elder Master. He ran off without a trace. Elder Master, this is what happened. In the secret hall of the Li clan, 4 black-robed men sat upright and listened to Li Wubo's introduction. The expressions of the 4 of them were as stiff as iron. Even their faces were a little stupefied. It was only when they heard the words souls of the purple crystal, holy crystal and divine crystal that the eyes of the 3 people at the side suddenly lit up. Immediately after, the black-robed old man in the middle also slowly raised his head. His gaze, which seemed to have solidified, swept across them. It was just a sweep of his gaze, but it seemed to carry the weight of the vicissitudes of time, causing a sense of oppression to rise in one's heart. Li Wubo's introduction had already ended. The hall descended into silence. After a long while, the person in the middle nodded slowly and said, "You have done well in this matter. Whatever he wants, I'll give him. No matter what, retrieving the treasure is the most important task now. Although one couldn't tell how old he was from his appearance, his spirit and complexion were all healthy. They all looked healthy and rosy, but when they opened their mouths at this moment, their voices were unexpectedly hoarse and difficult to speak. It was as if a piece of metal that had been rusted for many years had suddenly been rubbed together. It was a strange ear-piercing sound that was produced. Yes. Li Wubo was somewhat overwhelmed by the favor and responded respectfully. Even his face was somewhat flushed with agitation. The person who had spoken. He was the true founder of the Li clan, Li Jie back then, Li Chuanbo of the Li clan. Over the years, although Li Wubo had met this elder master a few times, the elder master didn't say a word each time. No matter what he said, the elder master didn't even raise his eyebrows. But, some future plans. Li Chuanbo frowned and didn't continue speaking. He closed his eyes again. Yes, this is what I plan to do. Even if we give him the purple crystals, we only need to strictly control his movements. Where can he run to when he is within the control of our clan? As long as he can successfully retrieve it, our clan will be the biggest beneficiary. In fact, I'm even thinking that if we can match a beautiful descendant of the clan to this Zi Xiaoyan as his wife. If we can succeed. If we can give birth to a descendant, then our clan will also have the purple crystal bloodline. When that time comes, whether we kill or imprison this person, will be up to us. Li Wubo reported respectfully, explaining his plans, including all the dark plots. He didn't hold back at all. He knew that in front of this elder master, no one could hide their thoughts and secrets. Li Chuanbo heaved a long sigh and shook his head. Then, he paused for a moment and shook his head again before opening his eyes. In his eyes, there was a strong sense of disappointment and disapproval. Elder master, could it be? Li Wubo said carefully. Unfilial grandson. Li Chuanbo heaved a long sigh, somewhat disappointed. Only with sincerity can one exchange for sincerity. No one can't be friends. From your words, it can be seen that the rules of the martial world, loyalty and righteousness, have already been lost in the Li clan. Li Chuanbo seemed to be a little angry. He actually spoke a lot for the first time. Using such a method, even if you can succeed for a while, can you succeed for the next 10,000 years? The Li clan will sooner or later be defeated and its bloodline will be lost. Why didn't you think of befriending him properly? Persuading him with emotion is far more effective than threatening him. Persuading him with reason is also much broader than enticing him with benefits. If you are sincere about befriending him, you can be of great help to the Li clan. If you burn the bridge after crossing it, who knows if the people you nurture in the future won't betray you? I am already disappointed in the Li clan. I founded the Li clan single-handedly. Until now, I can only watch as the Li clan declines step by step. Even if there are 10,000 such treasures. If one's heart isn't upright, one can forget about keeping them. Li Chuanbo's body swayed and he disappeared without a trace. I have retired from the clan for a long time and no longer care about the clan's affairs. Do as you see fit. For the past 10,000 years, the Li clan's thinking has already been distorted for 7,000 years. Even if I, Li Chuanbo, am the founder, what power do I have to reverse the situation? I can change the appearance of Jiang He, but what power do I have to change the hearts of my own grandson who has been distorted for 7,000 years? Finally, he heaved a long sigh. I hope you can remember, to become a great clan, one must first become a person. That's good. Li Chuanbo's figure disappeared. The other three disappeared as well. Li Wubo got up in a daze, somewhat absent-minded. However, after a long time, his heart calmed down again. Gritting his teeth, he thought silently to himself, the Elder Master has not come out into the world all these years and is not familiar with the current martial world. I may treat others as a ruler, but who will treat me as a ruler? In that case, wouldn't the Li clan be destroyed even faster? How could recruiting a successor of the purple crystal sword supremacy whose personality and temperament had already been fixed be as reassuring as grooming one himself? The most important thing now was to protect the clan. As for becoming a ruler, it would be better to think about it slowly after this calamity was over. When that time came, as long as he had the ability, the scheming and the means, what kind of friend couldn't he make? Why do you have to try to be conciliatory at such a critical moment? Li Wubo walked out in big strides. In the void behind him, a sorrowful sigh could be heard. Cough, it's too late. Sorry. I will continue to write the second update. In the afternoon, I rushed over to my father-in-law's house. As it turned out, my father-in-law and mother-in-law had gotten into a fight. How forceful. They fell all over the floor. There was nothing I could do. It was to the point where even I was badly battered before I finally brought my mother-in-law back to my house. The old man liked to grow flowers. Yesterday, he went to an old friend's house in Lini and begged his grandparents to bring back a pot of some kind of flower. It was said that it was very precious. But it was left behind. When the old lady saw that it had already withered and occupied such an exquisite flower pot, she plucked it out and threw it into the chicken coop while the old man was not at home. Then, she changed the pot of the spider plant. Heaven knew that they could quarrel to such an extent over a pot of flowers. She was really helpless. They were already so old. Chapter 1247. The empty hall moved and the elder master of the Li clan, Li Chuanbo, appeared once again. What's wrong? The other three also appeared at the same time. These four people seemed to be of the same body, advancing and retreating at the same time, disappearing together and reappearing together. The Li clan is finished. Li Chuanbo heaved a long sigh. What do you mean by that? The other three revealed shocked expressions. Li Chuanbo let out a bitter laugh, his expression bleak. Look at what kind of person the current head of the Li clan has become. Scheming and shrewd, prioritizing profit above all else. The Li clan has changed, Li Chuanbo said dispassionately. There's no need for it to exist anymore. One of the other three men in black said reluctantly, Big brother, this is your life's work and also your descendant. It's the Li clan's bloodline legacy. It's not anymore. Li Chuanbo shook his head and said sadly, it's not anymore. With his hands behind his back, he slowly walked back to the seat just now and sat down, his eyes revealing a look of reminiscence. After a long while, he said, back then, Uncle once said that passing down this heart is the legacy. The other three were filled with deep veneration. They knew that the person he was talking about was the previous Tribulation Sword Master, but they also felt puzzled. Passing down this heart is the legacy. Did this mean that bloodline wasn't important? What's the point of taking shortcuts if one is righteous and diligent? Li Chuanbo sighed. A hero of a lifetime. What is passed down is, of course, a noble spirit. If there comes a day when this noble spirit changes and becomes a synonym for despicable, at that time, this kind of bloodline legacy is not worth it. Because the legacy has already become a disgrace. Although Li Chuanbo said so, his eyes still showed pain. After I founded the clan, I wandered the martial world. I finally achieved great success. When I was a third-grade supreme martial artist, I cultivated in seclusion. 3,000 years later, when I came out, the clan had already changed. At that time, I wrote down the ancestral teachings to teach the descendants. But in my body, I wanted to cross the gap between heaven and man. My internal energy kept surging, so I went into seclusion again. It was only more than 10 years ago that I came out again. But the Li clan. It's no longer my Li clan. Today, I even used this great treasure to test the Li clan's bottom line. How despicable. Li Chuanbo smiled calmly. Back then, Uncle Zhuge Xiao had once divined for the Li clan, saying, spring waves surge for 10,000 years, but once there are no waves, there will be mediocrity. Who can predict what will happen in 10,000 years? It all depends on one's emotions. I've never understood the meaning of those words, but today, I finally understand. Li Chuanbo looked indifferently at the sky outside the door. Loneliness appeared in his eyes. My name is Chuanbo. I founded the Li clan and relied on my late father's reputation. Becoming a great clan was like surging spring waves, thriving for 10,000 years. It has indeed been 10,000 years. However, the current clan head is called Wu Bo. The Li family's Chuanbua established the family business. Since there are no waves now, then, can the Li clan still exist? Li Chuanbua smiled bitterly. So, once there are no waves, one will be mediocre. This is fate. With a slight smile, Li Chuanbua stood up and stepped out of the door. The fate of the Li clan, my life, Li Chuanbua. Just as he took this step, his body disappeared like mist. The other three men in black looked at each other. This time, they did not disappear with him. Big Brother seems to be in low spirits. Yes. But how can we watch the Li clan's 10,000 years of foundation be destroyed? That's right. Even if Big Brother doesn't care, should we? Exactly. No matter what, we can't just watch the Li clan disappear. Chu Yang stayed in a large condominium in the core area. It was a single unit with an elegant environment. In this world of ice and snow, there were actually a few rare green plants in this garden. The house was made of 10,000 years old mysterious ice, but not only was it not cold, it was instead warm. Inside, there was a huge swimming pool that could accommodate more than 10 people swimming together. At the bottom of the swimming pool, there were all rare warm jades. Even if ice water was poured in, it would warm up very quickly. Which of the people who could stay here wasn't impervious to cold and heat? Therefore, these things were purely for the sake of enjoyment. However, Chu Yang did not enjoy them for the sake of enjoyment. He had another motive. In the middle of the warm jades in the pool, there was a small hole. From the hole, a warm temperature was gradually exuding. This was the earth core fire. When Chu Yang was about to leave the southeast, Yu Lingxue had specially warned him about this place. In an extremely cold place, there must be a treasure of extreme yang. In the Li clan, in an extremely cold place, mysterious ice is the room, and warm jades are the foundation. This is where the earth core fire is produced. When I first came to the Li clan, I stayed for a period of time. But at that time, I had yet to understand how to absorb the power of the earth for cultivation, causing me to miss a good opportunity. In the entire heavens, I should be the first to understand the cultivation of the power of the earth. No one else knows about it. Therefore, although the Li clan has the earth core fire, the purest source of power of the earth, they must not have paid enough attention to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just used it as a place for bathing like a hot spring. And they actually used such a treasure to entertain guests. How can one not know whether to laugh or cry at this? If you can come to the Li clan one day, you must seize the opportunity. This has an inestimable effect on the harmony of yin and yang in one's body. Chu Yang had always kept this sentence in mind. Previously, he seemed to be extremely agitated and roaring as he raised the conditions, but it was all for this purpose. And now, under all kinds of coincidences, he had indeed achieved his wish. At this moment, Chu Yang was only wearing a pair of shorts as he jumped into the swimming pool. When his souls came into contact with the earth core fire, he circulated his energy to sense it. Indeed, his whole body felt comfortable and he couldn't help but be overjoyed. He shouted, "The few of you, bring in 2,000 purple crystals and place them by the side of the pool. Then, wait outside." At the side, there were a few beautiful girls in white who were serving him with blushing faces. Every one of them was a 1 in 1,000 beauty. At this moment, they were all sent to serve a man as he bathed. The few girls were all very shy, but they didn't dare to resist. When they heard Chu Yang's reprimand, they instantly felt relieved. They hurriedly went out to bring in the purple crystals and placed them by the side of the pool. They were stacked several thick layers. Only then did they get Chu Yang's permission and walked out quickly. "Deliver another 2,000 purple crystals to me every 2 hours. Do you hear me?" Chu Yang said majestically. "Yes." This successor of the Purple Crystal clan placed his hand on the purple crystals by the side of the pool and took a deep breath. Purple aura suddenly appeared on his body. Then, he circulated his energy and inhaled. Instantly, the entire sky above the pool was filled with a purple glow. Purple aura filled the sky and his body in the water couldn't be seen clearly. Wisps of purple aura rushed toward Chu Yang's nostrils, and the Yongquan acupoint at the bottom of his feet quietly stepped on the small mouth of the earth core fire while he was trying to conceal himself. He circulated the heaven overarching divine technique and inhaled fiercely. In just a moment. Everyone in the surrounding abodes who happened to be bathing at this moment felt that the water in the pool seemed to have become colder for some reason. It was as if the temperature had suddenly dropped by a few degrees. Shadow. Two people were looking at each other. They were talking to each other through telepathy. Facing this sword supremacy. How could the people who were sent be ordinary people? These were two 5th grade supreme martial artists. Looks like he's going to collect the purple crystal aura without restraint tonight to prepare to crack the purple crystal mine tomorrow. That should be the case. But the way he absorbs the purple crystals is really unique. That's right. Not only is the method strange, but the speed is also really terrifying. In just a short while, dozens of purple crystals have turned into powder. Could this little one have contracted the purple crystal hand? Definitely not. Lang Yilang's purple crystal hand is incurable. Once injured, one can only absorb the purple crystal aura from the palm. But he's doing it from the nostrils. This method is unheard of. It's really strange. Could it be that this little one is really going to absorb 10,000 purple crystals tonight? It can't be. The two supreme martial artists whispered in the dark. Chu Yang's powerful divine senses had naturally discovered them long ago, but he pretended not to know. He only absorbed the purple crystal aura with all his might. His nostrils seemed to have become the ocean, and the purple crystal aura that came whistling toward him was like a river. They were all absorbed into his nostrils and disappeared. The entire pool was filled with flashing purple light. Nothing could be seen at all. In reality, Chu Yang was absorbing the earth core fire with all his might with his eyes closed. Even Yu Lingxue had to wring his hands and sigh at the missed opportunity. How could Chu Yang not take advantage of this opportunity to absorb as much as he could? As for the power that was extracting the purple crystals, it was because the sword spirit was using the tentacles of the tribulation sword to hook onto the purple crystals. Then, he was extracting the massive amount of heaven and earth core fire contained in these 2,000 purple crystals into the tribulation sword through Chu Yang's meridians. If he were to do this, not to mention 2,000 purple crystals, even if it were 200,000, the sword spirit would definitely be able to extract all of them in one night. But he definitely couldn't act so perverted now. Besides, the Li clan was also more stingy. They actually only gave him 10,000 for one night. Only 10,000. If Li Wubo were to hear this, he would definitely hug his head and cry bitterly. Stingy with 10,000 for one night? You must know that this 10,000 was meant for you to absorb for several months. As he absorbed, the expressions on the faces of the two supreme martial artists who were watching in the dark also became more and more interesting. Their mouths opened wider and wider. My God. He actually really absorbed the heaven and earth core fire of 2,000 purple crystals within 2 hours. Fuck, what kind of monster was this? The surrounding purple crystals became dimmer and dimmer. Finally, when it was close to 2 hours, with a crash, the 2,000 purple crystals that had already lost their luster shattered at the same time and turned into powder all over the ground. Send the purple crystals in. Why are you taking so long? A certain purple crystal successor roared furiously. Several young girls kept quiet out of fear and hurriedly carried the purple crystals in again. When they saw the purple crystal powder around the pool, their small cherry mouths opened so wide that it was as if they were about to swallow a duck egg. Gone. Really gone? Little did they know that to Chu Yang, this actually couldn't be considered as a benefit. The real benefit was that the earth core fire that he had absorbed in these 2 hours had already caused his dantian to feel a burning sensation. The tribulation sword seemed to be very excited as it writhed about in this kind of temperature, and those 2 strands of primordial real silk in Chu Yang's dantian actually seemed to be coming alive under the smelting of the earth core fire. They were filled with luster all over. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.